I'd wait for anybody coming across the parking lot. Even you, Jeff. What? Even you. Yeah. Okay. 5. Everybody, I'll call our public council meeting to order for Tuesday, September 7th, 2021. First off, I just want to, so everybody signed in, we already got that. And if you want to ask questions, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, if you want to ask questions in the Q&A, we'll sign you up and you'll have to stand in your space to ask the questions. And we only have 15 minutes allocated for the first Q&A session. So we'll take whoever's names that want to ask questions. And if we run out of time, we can add them to the end. So make sure that everybody gets an opportunity. New business. Councillor Glenn.
A big thank you to the people of Torbay.
Thanks. Okay. Councillor Thorne-Gass.
Thank you.
Councillor Pollard.
Yes.
Councillor Roach.
Yes, I have one. The Merton property over there to buy that CPD. Is that what it's called?
That's not a go-around topic.
So I told him I'd bring it to the council.
You can, if it comes up during the.
Okay. I know it's been, dealt with before.
Yeah.
But
No, just for our go-around is usually just.
Yeah, but I haven't
quick
been,
items.
there that long. All right.
Did you have anything for the go-around? No. Okay.
Just thank you to you.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Councillor Martin.
Just congratulations.
Congrats, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
Thanks. And I got a thanks and a congrats. All right, is there anyone that wants to get added to the first Q&A session? Madeline? Anyone else? No? Okay. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended, please? Oh, sorry.
I'm not certain of this procedure, so
Okay.
I'll apologize first to interrupt prior meetings. But I think it's obvious why I'm here, and it's led to believe that there's an opportunity for me to speak in the beginning for 5 minutes. Whatever. Is that this opportunity?
Yep. Yep.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
All right.
I thought it was a question and an answer. So for a particular...
Well, it is, but if you just want to make a statement or do whatever, that's fine. And if I can answer your question, I will. But if it's a more detailed type of question, then we would forward it on to staff and get back to you with the answer.
All right. Well, I'll take the opportunity.
All right, no problem. So drone. Cody. Anyone else? No? All right. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended, please?
So moved.
Moved, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried. Thank you. So we have a set of public council minutes for August 23rd. Could I get a motion to adopt those, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any errors or omissions? None. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried. Okay. We got no proclamations, presentations, Q&A. Madeline.
It's more of an announcement, good
Okay.
news, and it's unofficial, but the East Coast Trail fundraiser ended yesterday. And the two Torbay teams together raised $16,810
Wow.
of the total that's been raised of $65,097. So they didn't make their overall goal of $100,000, but given the burnout there is now with all fundraisers, I think it's pretty good. So our teams, we had 2 teams. The team 1 came in 2nd place. Team 2 came in 3rd place. And Robbie Hicks had a last-ditch kind of contribution and ended up with $4,810 in contributions. So I think it's pretty pretty fair to say that Torbay is doing really well for the East Coast Trail and enjoying it as well. And the highest individual hiker was the guy who was hiking barefoot,
Oh, yeah.
and he raised $7,750.
Wow, good for him. That,
So,
that,
good news. Thank you, Torbay, for your support and to everybody who donated.
you know what, that's excellent. And I know that this comes around every year, and I know I personally try and donate when I can, and I know the town does. But you guys did do an awesome job of promoting it, and it's really good. Thank you.
Well, we tried to get other towns to do the same, but we haven't been successful so far. But since 2011, when we started, we've raised well over $80,000.
Okay, excellent. So, you know what, that's a good point. And the next opportunity I get, I guess after the election is over, and I get a chance to sit with the other mayors and we have a meeting, I'll bring that up to them, and that they should probably stick something in their budget to sponsor the East Coast Trail fundraiser every year. Because, of course, it's not just in Torbay, right? It goes through Flat Rock, Pooch Cove, down to Baldine, and Otter Cove. So I'll make a note of that, and I'll see what I can do.
Well, keep trying.
All right. Okay. Mr. Cody, floor is yours.
I have 5 minutes. Well, first of all, thank God, pardon me?
It'd be easier, we can hear you better.
Okay.
Where's the podium?
All right. I understand, okay? First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for the opportunity to speak. I've been in Torbay now for 62 years. I have never been in this chambers, but twice in the past 5 months. I had numerous, as you guys know, correspondence back and forth with council. Some 11 years ago, I purchased a piece of property for $2.5 million in North Pond Road, which is important for development. I've been paying taxes on it ever since as a development, and the development was put forward by Mr. Winsway, beginning, as we all know, as a proposed 180-lot subdivision. We bought the property with understanding that it was an approved piece of property that we could develop. We have substantial, it's the highest price money ever paid for land in Torbay. The reason why I did that is because I grew up in Torbay. I believe in Torbay, and I believe the tax base, by creating such a development, would be benefiting Torbay. Allow me to do work in Torbay, which is why I'm here. That being said, because we didn't need a deadline, because we were busy in construction process of land and other works, it got, I wasn't able to complete it. I put in an application, because when I spoke to Mr. Brown, he said, no big deal. Put in an application, and it's routine to extend it. To the unfortunate, nothing to do with Torbay and such. We had a water storage. I've been waiting 11 years for a water study to be done, with understanding that I would get lots, what was left after this year. In January, this year, it was supposed to be revealed how many lots that I would accept for approval, which was roughly somewhere between 80 and 100 lots. I've been trying to capture what lots are available for that development for 11 years. Since that time, there's the promotion of other developments, which I have no problem. I support other developments as much as I do. But the problem we have here is that you have a very precarious situation where an existing subdivision has been approved. And I'm getting a bit nervous for some reason, which usually I'm not nervous. So you're going to have the department have to sit down.
Sorry.
I don't know why I'm getting overwhelmed with this, but I am. But anyway, so we have an approval. Everyone knows what's on it, because I've spoken to all of you individually, or at some point spoke to you as a group. The last meeting we had here on April the 12th, after a lengthy process of reviewing what I said, Mr. Tony, I believe, said to me, what is it you're looking for, Jerome? I said, look, we're looking to get as much lots as we can. He said, how much are you looking for? He said, nothing to hold me, and I said, you're a pretty smart guy to ask a very specific question, what's on the go. I said, we have a full development. You said, why didn't you apply for all that was there? I said, we have. You said we have no communication or correspondence on this. You asked your engineer, she was unaware of it. Since then, it's been shown that there's over 30 to 40 correspondences to council. Brian Winter acknowledges in the correspondence of 2018 that I even spoke to the mayor on this. now I'm here struggling to get a few lots for why I invested in Torbay to allow me to go ahead and finish the development. We all know we have a water problem. But the intrinsics of trying to approve something because of technicalities or whatever, when I was told to wait on the fence for what was going to be approved in the future for what lots, I've been very respectful to all these great gentlemen who told me that. So I asked here tonight that if there's approvals going to be done for other lots, try to suggest or infill, try to pre-qualify them for whatever reason you wish, but still building lots that may be tried to qualify for whatever reason. But the fact is, I'm waiting 11 years, and I invested in Torbay because I believe in the people of Torbay. We're all here, we're all good people. And there's no reason why I should be in the position that I have, because I'm after having so much correspondence back and forth here. I'm still waiting for a reply. Yet other developments are put forward. I've been in writing saying that I'm waiting for a reply. And I still haven't got no reply. And all that has to be asked, why? Well, I find myself here again tonight, trying to explain myself and hope that great people here under the values, how much time we have?
You're just about almost done.
Under the values of what constitutes right and wrong, and at least review all the particulars. This is very complicated what's here, because I'm hearing stuff that is not backed up and it's not supported, such as the first meeting I was here in April, weren't aware of it. You were aware, and that's been proven since. I don't know why that's the case. Maybe it's just a misunderstanding or miscommunication. So here I am again. I ask that you guys review that in proper form, so that obviously $2.5 million, I just can't take that on the chin and say, well, it's okay, technicality toward it. When? If I knew that this was going on, I wouldn't have gotten involved in this. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. And I do know, I saw your letter that came today.
Yeah.
And the planning committee is going to be looking at your application, is my understanding. So then you should get,
I haven't been asked to come in here once.
Right.
But just so much information. There's a file on this, that thick.
Yeah.
And it seems like no one continues to want to know. No one will respond. Something is majorly out of alignment.
all right, we'll make sure that you get a response.
But you guys have legal representation. Why don't you have legal representation if you know what's wrong?
Okay. All right, thank you, John.
Sorry for my lengthy.
Listen, that's all right. It's okay. Okay. Where am I to? Oh, yes, sorry. Thank you, Don, for reminding me. I have a email here. I got it. So I have a question here for the Q&A from Mike Manning. Dear Mayor and Council, I understand there's a recommendation for the Planning Land Use Development Committee concerning the proposed Bell Canada Tower. As you're aware, I'm one of nearly 100 residents opposed to this application due to concerns of health and property value concerns. I couldn't make it to the meeting in person, but wanted to write to express the significant impact this will have on myself, my family, and my neighbors. I urge you to support the recommendation and support the well-being of the residents. Thank you, Mike Manning, residents of Bernice Drive. Thank you, Mike. And get that added in, and we'll hear more about that application in the planning report. That, now, okay. Mayor's report. I don't have an extensive report this 2 weeks, but birthdays for September on my list. Dave Murren in our Infrastructure and Public Works, and Paul Roach, Recreation and Community Services. Happy birthday to them both. And where am I? Okay, so August 24th, I attended an advocacy meeting with our M&L committee. Thursday, the 26th, the Killick Coast Games closing ceremonies, and I had an opportunity to present some of our athletes with the most sportsmanlike players. I would point them out now as junior female Jessica McGrath, junior male Lincoln Harris, senior female Gillian Codner, and senior male Jack Waterman. Congratulations to them on behalf of council. The town of Torbay also picked up the Mayor's Cup for the most spirited team, which was fun. And myself and Councillor Torngoss were there to be able to accept that on behalf of the town. And there wasn't a huge, I guess, turnout for the closing ceremonies, but you know, it's all you can do this year with the COVID stuff. So I want to congratulate Luggy Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove on doing a tremendous job hosting under difficult circumstances with COVID this year. And good luck to Bali and Flat Rock and Pooch Cove, who will be hosting next year. Hopefully there will be less restrictions around it. We'll be able to do more.
We have another birthday,
Oh yeah, who is it?
September, Norm Snell's birthday.
Oh, Norm. Needs my sheet updated. Happy birthday, Norm, and you're here, so I can say it right to you for September. Norm Snellgrove, our Director of Corporate Services.
Happy birthday.
And you.
Me?
Oh, you're singing, are you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Everybody's singing happy birthday for everybody is celebrating. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. It may not be yours, but it's between them two. Okay,
Thanks,
that was
Councillor Roach.
just loosening up a bit, you know?
All right, August 27, we had a council staff summer social. And I must say it was great to be able to spend some time with staff and council outside of working regular business hours and have a chat and just, you know, get together as people and it's nice. So I thank Don for organizing that. Monday the 30th, I attended our community hall meeting, and Thursday the 2nd, we had a presentation from Newfoundland Irish Connections on the Manion project, and there'll be more to come on that in the Economic Development and Tourism Committee minutes. So that is that. All right. I don't imagine there's any questions on any of that, are there? No? Okay, perfect. All righty. Any business arising from the minutes? No. Correspondence. So we have a circular here from the Department of Education regarding child care funding. I think this is about municipalities setting up municipally run, regulated child care. I think that we talked about this at our M&L meeting last week. We had a UMC meeting, and there's some question around even if municipalities are allowed to operate child care facilities. So we'll forward that on to admin. They can have a look at it, or recreation, or whoever that falls under. Application for status for Town of Torbay fiscal year 2021. This is a notification of our application for our capital funding for our water treatment, and I'm going to speak to this for a second. It appears that once again our application has not been approved. The comments here say that the application as proposed was not selected as a provincial priority compared to other important applications at this time. If it remains a priority, please update required documents and submit an application in the future call applications. I think that this one in particular is, I don't even know what to say. I mean, if water treatment for our water supply is not a priority for the province, then I don't know what is. I mean, it's a priority for us. It's going to remain a priority. So I would suggest, well, we'll forward that on to corporate services or public works or whoever we need to forward that on to. But I think that we should reach out to the MHA, which I think we've already done, and our MP, and probably I'll also write a letter back to the department, you know, asking what priorities are more important than clean and safe drinking water. I don't know, but
Did we find out if there was an appeal process? Because that was one of the things that I know CAO was looking at, see if we could appeal that.
My mic is not working, but just further to Mayor's comments, I did reach out to the MHA and MP upon receipt of this letter. The MHA has followed up. I'm waiting on a confirmation of the meeting this week with the ADM and the director because this waiting on the appeal process confirmation, or if we can look at a phased approach. So, I know the ADM and the MHA reached out, the ADM had already said that I had requested the meeting, so I'm just waiting on that date, so it will be probably later this week, so I'll have more information after that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Roach?
I just wanted to add to everything everybody's saying, that it would be great to invite the top dogs in the department to come down here and sit down and, or bring them in and see what we're talking about. And then, they might get a better feel for things because they're so busy with their work and all this stuff. But put them on the spot here, And this is an election year too.
Well, myself and CAO did have a meeting with the Assistant Deputy Minister and the Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister a couple of weeks ago, was it, Don? And we talked about this briefly. Well, there was no decision made at that time, so at that time we were just asking for an update on the application.
So can we bring them in here in front of, our town as people, or have a special meeting about it? Because, everybody's trying to, or mostly everybody was trying to just conserve the water flow, even by, don't let the tap run when you're brushing your teeth and all that stuff. And every little drop helps. And those two big jerks, whoever they are, should come in here and see council.
Yeah. I'll reach out to the MHA.
Don't put that in the minutes, I didn't say that. Okay?
You're in live.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I didn't say it.
Yeah.
I'm
Just
going
to-
next week anyway.
Just a question for the province when you guys go back. I know when I spoke to MHA Jody Wall about this issue, he advised me that this was his #1 priority in the region. He said drinking water, clean, clear, safe drinking water for the biggest town in my district absolutely has to be my #1 priority. So I'm of the opinion and understanding that it was his priority that he ranked in the region, his district. My question is, what provincial priorities are they evaluating this against if they're telling us that it doesn't meet with their provincial priorities? Because if the province is evaluating these applications, they have to have some criteria they're evaluating against. And where is that printed public list of priorities that residents know what they are? Because I think that's something we'd want to know about, and it's a conversation I think we should have with senior officials at the province, absolutely.
I think we can find out what the application scored. I know last time when we applied last year, it scored 100 out of 100. But it still didn't get approved because it was too expensive. So we went back with a lower price, and I would assume that it probably might have scored highly again, but we could check that out and find out, right, and find out the rationale. I understand that the province is also strapped for money, but, these applications, when the federal government and the provincial government tell you that water is one, and wastewater are their top priorities for infrastructure, and you can't get approval, it's difficult. We'll go back and seek those answers. Thank you. Mr. Klein?
Yeah, I just want, sorry, I feel a bit of an echo in here with all this glass. It sounds a bit weird. Yeah, just not to reiterate, I guess, everything that everyone's already said, but it'd just be nice to know why it was turned down. That's all. And again, that's why we have an MHA. The MHA sets priorities for his district or their district. And again, yeah, when we did have the meeting with the MHA Wall, I thought that was I thought this was a slam dunk. So yeah, I know from experience, obviously the MHA has a lot of power, pull, or discretion as to what money that gets put to your district gets distributed as. So again, I think we should make sure just work through the MHA, give the support that he needs, and encourage him when time comes out of dole of money for this district that this should be a top priority, right? It's just like I just want to make sure that when we go to try to get this, we actually talk to the right people, say the right things, do the right things, other than just kind of stomping our feet and
I agree.
all that type of stuff, right? We just got to try to figure out just logically what's going on and get that done. I'm really surprised and then disappointed.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, and just jumping up and down and stamping your feet is not a good approach. And I do know that MHA Wall had this as his #1 priority. I've seen the communication about it with the department. So we'll have to go back and see. It's interesting. All right,
It's even more unfortunate that the letter is written in a what-if scenario, if it remains a priority. Everyone knows it's a priority because we did a couple of submissions already. It seems like this is just a standard letter, and I know in some previous application denials that I've seen, they've essentially done that this year. They put it through a paper shredder or a mill, whatever it is, and signed last year's documents as well, exactly the same as they were for this year. So, to think that it went in, and we had the minister here, Minister Bragg was here actually, and so it was Kevin Parsons at the time, and it seemed like that it was going to, be held up favorably once it got inside, and everybody was expecting that, and for it to come back and be, outright refused when at least, one of the ministers is still in there, and this letter is written as if no one knows anything about it, or that, it wasn't discussed before, or that, that there's no recourse. You think they would have come back and said, yeah, we'll hold it and take a look at, see what funding comes available and try to work with you or something on those lines, but so just outright rejection is, I think it needs to be addressed with the minister and others in there.
right, I agree. Okay. So the next one is call for board, M&L call for board nominations. So if anybody wants to run for the board of M&L, there's the form that you got to do, and fill your boots. I'll be reapplying or getting renominated for my position on the board, hopefully, and see if I can get back on there.
The deadline for the Premier's form has been extended to September 15th.
Okay.
Mayor, if I could,
Sure.
the question was asked in the chamber last council meeting about the nomination dates and when they happen. So I went back and I spoke with the CEO of M&L, and it was, as I had said, it's based on the bylaws that we have, and there's a certain number of days before the election that it has to be announced. So that's where those dates came from. I just wanted to make sure that we had a response for that.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. And the next one is a email from Paula Lancaster. It's a follow-up from her question from the last meeting, and that's already been forwarded on to staff, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right,
Can I just ask that a copy of that would have gone back to Paula, I'm assuming, off the questions that,
We can make sure that it was,
if-
go back to the resident
yeah,
Yeah, that's addressed in the,
in your minutes.
in the minutes, okay.
all right, okay, thank you.
So can we have a copy of that letter, the reply for the public council package? I
It's
understood
in-
Paula
That's in
wanted
the-
that.
It's in the
It's
package.
in the package.
Okay, all right, I'll have another look at that. Thanks.
Okay, committee of the whole minutes from August 30th. Communications, arena lease agreement. So there's a motion in there for the lease agreement. Do we have to do that motion or just pass the minutes?
Needs to be,
Okay,
there are two motions actually, and in the minutes adopted.
all right, can I get somebody to put forward that motion, please?
So moved.
No, you gotta read it out, Councilor Martin.
Sorry.
I can go with it, you got it there?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. That the town of Torbay approve the draft lease agreement as presented between the town councils of the town of Torbay, Luggy Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove, Pooch Cove, Flat Rock, and the Northeast Avalon Regional Board. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions?
I'll comment. I'd like to thank you for going back and seeking the legal advice and making sure that this was done the way that it needed to be done. And I know the last time that we had a conversation around this in the chamber, it got a little testy and heated, and some people were frustrated with me. But this was a really important piece to make sure that this town has the ability to deal with the risk that's associated with the board, the way that it's laid out and how the lease agreement is structured. So I'm very happy to see now that the town needs to provide approval for, operations out there and the budgets and what's happening. And that way we can make sure that, decisions aren't being taken that our residents are going to be on the hook for without any prior approval from the town. So thank you. I really appreciate the work that's been done on this, and looking forward to seeing it signed and put in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
That Mayor Scott sign the revised lease agreement between the town councils of the town of Torbay, Luggy Bay, Outer Cove, Pooch Cove, and Flat Rock, and the Northeast Avalon Arena Regional Board Inc. on behalf of the town of Torbay. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Now we can adopt the minutes. Can I get a motion to adopt those minutes, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Just one comment.
Oh, hang on.
Sorry, that motion says Northeast Avalon Arena Board, Inc. Is that supposed to be updated to the new name of the Jack Byrne Regional Sports Entertainment Center?
The,
Based on incorporation documents.
Okay, so that's fine as is? Okay, I just want to make sure before we adopt the minutes. Thanks.
okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. All right, planning land use development. Councillor Martin.
Thank you. We got quite a hefty agenda here. First order of business, we have we have 7 motions to bring forward, but 2 will be deferred site new information. So I'm going to address those 2 first and then go on into regular business. The first one was application C2021-085. And that one I'm going to put a motion to defer. So site new information, I would like to move that we defer application C2021-085 for 1235 Torbay Road, mixed development, use zone, equipment storage yard, light industry, discretionary use, site, new information, and it'll need to go back to committee for review. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions?
Yeah, I've got questions.
Go ahead.
So why are we deferring? So you're talking with the reference number. So it's C2021-005, 1235 Torbay Road, mixed development, equipment storage yard, light industry, discretionary use, right? Okay, just make sure we follow along. And so you want to defer this motion from a decision tonight?
Yes.
On what grounds?
There was some new information received on the back end, and staff need to follow up with it.
What? That's kind of mysterious. What new information?
Well, there was some follow-up that needed to be completed from our last public forum on August 11th, which hasn't been done. So we need to have that addressed before it can come back to council for a vote, because there's still several residents that don't have responses to things that we have to follow up on from the public forum.
And that's okay. I guess the motion here is to so the recommendation here, motion to conditionally approve application. Okay. Okay. I was looking forward to voting on that tonight. I didn't know if there was any I didn't realize there was additional information required. So that's grounds for pushing this back.
Well, why? Go ahead, Mary.
Sorry, yeah, I guess this is what we're voting on. Sorry, I just
Council
to me, I don't know. I was just excited to get this taken care of tonight.
That's the one I was trying to mention, and you said it wasn't in order at this time. But now seeing that Councillor Gallant and other people have the same opinion, and were contacted by the same person probably, I thought it would be also covered over tonight. Because the longer that is there, as it is right now, we're not asking someone to stop their business or anything like that. It's just to have meet halfway or something like that. And I think maybe Julia and somebody from the committee should meet with this lady and, and have another look at it.
Okay. Councillor Thorne-Gotts?
Just wanted to add, I guess, to this because it came to light. We were, I guess, when we discussed this, much the same, we need to bring this forward to council. But in speaking with some of the residents, and one in particular, I guess the intent was after, and especially after we had a public meeting, that residents would have an opportunity to speak with staff and council and to look at if there was an opportunity to resolve some of those issues and what have you. But there was no meeting, follow-up meeting with the residents as what we had thought. And I guess in particular, some people had asked for that to take place. And the other thing, I guess, with that, the applicant as well, there was no communication back and forth. And I know we looked at having conditions in place, but then how realistic or what have you are they? So in discussions with the director today and the CAO, it's agreed that there will be an opportunity to meet with the residents and as a follow-up for that meeting that night, because as we all know, some of the discussions centered around the current building and not with regards to the actual application that we have on file. So the two of them have somehow got muddled together, and that's not what the intent of this. So I think that there's some follow-up discussion that's required with everybody.
All right. Okay.
Mayor, can I address that as well? I have here in front of me the approval in principle for clearing, grubbing, excavating, backfilling, grading for future residential use for 1235 Torbay Road, and this
Deputy Mayor?
was drafted and sent to the residents on December 18th, 2020.
Deputy Mayor, are you speaking to the motion to defer?
I am. This is a motion to defer pending new information.
Right.
So what I have asked for, and I asked for this information on the 30th of July, was to have put in front of us when this came forward, how all of the conditions for this residential development were met. And there are, and I'm looking at it here now, there are
But that's not the motion right now.
20, hold on, there's 21 conditions for the residential application, which was approved use. And of those 21 pieces that are here,
Just-
Yeah, that's irrelevant.
no, it's not irrelevant. And
Order,
I'll tell you
please.
why it's not irrelevant.
Order, please.
Because
You need to
they're
speak.
not met in the
Order,
residential
please.
approved
Deputy Mayor?
use.
Deputy Mayor.
No, let me finish.
No,
The
I'm
approval in
calling order
principle
right
that was
now.
provided
Deputy
here.
Deputy Mayor.
Please.
But the
Please.
work was
Very
done
disrespectful, Madam
under
Deputy Mayor,
this approval in
Order.
principle.
If you don't respect the chair, I will be forced to ask you to leave the meeting.
Well,
And
you
I don't
can-
want to do that.
You can do that, but
Right
I'd like to
now,
speak if I
right,
could.
right now, we are discussing a motion to defer this. That's it. A motion to defer. We're not discussing a motion of approval or anything. It's to defer to
hear
respect the
you,
committee.
and I agree. All I'm asking is that the information that was in this approval in principle for that second space, that is included to show where those were met for this residential, because that's the approved use. What we were talking about was discretionary, and
right.
it's not in the public package. So I want to make sure that that's in there when this comes back. That's
All right,
all I'm
fine.
asking for.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
Call the question.
Kate, all in favor, deferral, please?
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
And the next one I'm going to skip ahead to was the other one that needed to be deferred, site new information. Was application C 2021-025, 7 Darrell Pye Drive, residential medium density use zone, proposed 14-unit residential infill development, road dwelling apartment use, discretionary use. We've had some new information come into us this morning, which I believe most of the council was copied on. So we'd like enough time to review that and bring it through committee. So we're asking now that I hereby make a motion to defer this application C 2021-025 for Darrell Pye Drive. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions? Go ahead.
Okay, just 1 second here. So 1235 Torbay Road's been deferred. Just making sure I have this. And then there's the spray lane. I guess I'm out of sorts here now.
Item 4, Councillor Gallant.
Item 4, thank you. Okay, makes more
Page
sense
5 and
now.
9.
Makes more sense now, okay. Make sure that, this is 025, 7 Darrell Pye Drive, residential medium density land use, 14 residential infill development, right? And so again, you're saying that new information, I'm going to ask the same question. It's like this is a discretionary thing.
Yeah.
But, so this new information that came in today, you believe warrants delaying this?
Yeah, given the sensitivity around the information, Director Short, did you want to?
Well, there's no, I don't need
Yeah,
too much
I
detail.
don't want to get into the schematics of it, given the sensitivity of it, but.
With this, is this something that was going to be, is this something that's going to come back next week? Or, sorry, in 2 weeks from now?
Very likely.
I guess I'd say
Yeah.
there's several controversial things going on, and I just, one of the things I feared, kind of off this, I just don't want to see this council, those who, especially those who are running, I'm not running, but like, I don't want to see decisions kind of just pushed off. Pushed off the next council on a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I like still, the business needs to proceed, right? So, but if you feel it's worth deferment, that's, I'll give you a benefit of the doubt.
Had something to add. I don't know if, as you remember, the committee.
Councillor Ross?
No, I just want to elaborate on this, and I think that we were prepared to bring this forward. And after talking to Mr. Cody today a couple of times, and again, everybody has heard his presentation and what he talked about here tonight, that I guess we need to go back and revisit some of the information and some of the questions. And there's a number of outstanding questions that Mr. Cody has been asked, and he went down over it again tonight. And I think that it's imperative at this time that we go back and look at all of this. I feel, I guess, strongly, and I know that it's disappointing for the applicants that are here tonight to know that they were expecting for this, because they have been waiting a long time to try to get this resolved. And to Councillor Glant's point, I mean, this was the whole thing, and I've been asked, like, why are we even bringing these to council in the middle of an election? But we have to understand, and I hope like residents and the applicants realize that these have been on the go for a long time, and we were hoping to get these resolved earlier, but we had legal advice on these last week here with water allocations. And unfortunately, now we find ourselves here with some new information that I feel very strongly that we need to go back and get clarification on. And I feel bad for any outstanding business now that's going to be left to a new council, because as we all know, it takes 6 months to a year to get in to get a feel for everything. So this was it was a hard decision, because somewhere along the way we got to make, I guess, some hard decisions on a lot of this. But I felt strongly that what we're doing here tonight to defer this is in the best interest of everybody.
And Councillor Glant, I share your views too. I'm also an outgoing member, but I'd also like to get as much addressed as we can within our means before our end of life. But yeah, this we did feel that we needed to defer this one.
Okay. All right, call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No, aye.
Okay. Carry.
Thank you. The next one, so that's the two of those. So back to regular business. Application C 2021-078 and BR 2021-007, 15 Spray Lane, Town Centre Land Use Zone. Conversion of existing residential use to proposed combined microbrewery, tap room and gift shop. Discretionary use. Brief background here. We're in receipt of an application proposing to convert the existing dwelling at 15 Spray Lane into a microcraft brewery that includes a tap room, bar, lounge and retail shop area. The subject property is located in the town centre and falls under our town development regulations 2015 to 2025, and a combined light industry catering lounge. Uses are listed as discretionary. The shop use is listed as permitted use, and the application was processed in accordance with regulations 33 and 90 requiring public notification. The town received a petition signed by 25 residents as well as 5 individual letters of concern in response to the public notice, a detailed background report, copy of the petition, and representations received, as well as the committee meeting minutes of August 31st, 2021 are attached for reference to form part of this motion. The recommendation was committee reviewed the proposal, and while the proposed use is indeed, is needed in the town and may be considered in the town centre zone, the committee concurs with the concerns raised by the area residents, including that Spray Lane is currently a quiet residential street, that there are potential...
Councillor Martin, can I just interrupt you for a second? Sorry. I just got a notification that our meeting is not streaming.
It is.
Is it?
Yes, yeah.
It's just the person has to go into the YouTube,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
It's the town of Torbay YouTube and the public council meeting, and they'll see it there. There are people watching.
We've had it confirmed externally through email notifications.
Yes.
Okay.
And it is live streamed.
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
No worries.
I just want to make sure that...
Sure, are we okay to continue with the meeting?
Go ahead. Yeah,
Yeah,
continue.
Well, if it's not streaming, we can.
It is. Carry on.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We're live.
Yeah. I lost my spot now. There are potential safety concerns for area residents due to anticipated traffic increase and alcohol consumption in close proximity to schools, existing homes, parking congestion, loitering associated with the development. There's also potential for noise increase, and it appears the access considerations via an alternate access in the future are uncertain in terms of timelines. So therefore, the following motion is tabled. Motion to refuse application C 2021-078 and BR 2021-007 in accordance with Regulation 33 and 90 of the Torbay Development Regulations 2015 to 2025 pertaining to discretionary use for reasons outlined above and in attached background materials. So moved.
Second.
Mover and seconder.
So essentially, committee viewed the area, and it is a very small residential area, and we felt strongly that the residents did have very warranted concerns. So myself, Councillor Thorne-Goss and Director Shorts all felt that our support was warranted. Councillor Thorne-Goss, do you have anything to add?
No, I guess, again, it's one of these situations that we're into that we had Trek Consulting come in, and one of the recommendations, I guess, to attract tourism here would be to have such a business as this, and then to find ourselves in this situation. So it's unfortunate for the owners, but when we talked about this, the plan would be to have road access go down here in our town centre, but realistically, when we talked about this is what they're talking about, an alternate access. I guess, the probability and actually having a road going down through here is going to be years by the time we get to that position. So it's one of these that everybody thinks that it's a great idea, but not in my backyard. And having looked at the situation down there for the current residents, it's just not the proper location for it at this time, unfortunately. So again, it's one of those that it's with being pulled, the pros and the cons of all of it, but it was hard to come to this decision, but unfortunately, that's what we're recommending, based on the the input from the residents.
Okay, thank you.
Could I say something too? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Councillor Roach.
Okay, I'm looking at the plans there, and, I think it's a great little building and all that stuff. But if you're having liquor and beer and stuff like it down into that facility, and it's so close to the drop on the cliff, and would worry me, for somebody coming out, just fall over the steps and go this way instead of going that way when you're gone. So there it is.
Okay, what else? Councillor Payne?
Yeah, I just did a staycation in Newfoundland and learned to experience firsthand how awesome have little brew pubs are. A couple different spots, and I think this would make a fantastic addition to Torbay. I think we'd all enjoy that on a night or two. But as the residents do point out, and I was actually speaking about this on my staycation, was, this is right in the school zone, right? There's, off the, to access it, you'd have to go right through there type of thing. And it is a residential neighborhood, and, it would kind of, without the other infrastructure, without kind of the bigger vision, they kind of start off with a brew pub in a residential area, just like that, it doesn't seem to fit. And I think that the residents raised a very good points with that. So again, it's one of these things that I'd love to say yes to this, but if it was a slightly different spot, slightly different location, I'll be the first one to line up. But just right there, that's a tough sell for the kind of the first, the first Lego block in that Grand Master Plan, right? That could really
Safety
throw
first,
things off.
and if they
So
could
it's
find
just-
land somewhere else, I'd be well.
Anyone else?
It's just the wrong spot.
Thank you. Right.
I just want to thank committee for listening to the residents on this. I know Scott Bolger and a bunch of residents in that neighborhood came together, they organized, they were very clear about their safety concerns, and like you've said, they're real concerns. The bandwidth of the road, the traffic, the fact that it's a school zone, the danger with the cliff. There's a lot of concerns that were raised here, and the residents did a really good job of organizing, communicating with us, and letting us know what their concerns were. And I feel it's really important that this council develops this town in a responsible and sustainable way, and I think that there's room for development, but also working with residents to make sure that happens in a meaningful way, that it's a win-win instead of a win-lose. So with that said, I will support the motion, and I would encourage the business owners to come back and have a conversation with our Economic Development Tourism Officer to have a look at and see if there are other spaces or other options that could be, available, and where there could be a possibility. I understand that this application was to be set up on a well, so, that could be consideration with water as well. But I do believe that it's really important for us to listen to our residents, and I think that they made some really good points, and I'm very glad to see that that's what we're doing tonight. So, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. I think we're all
Hang on.
mutual support, so.
I just got one thing to say about this, I guess, and this is something that this council and the next council and every council after us is going to have to deal with. We don't have a designated commercial zone in our town. We don't have an industrial area. We have along Torbay Road, for the most part, mixed-use development. And those are the areas where we're going to get our applications coming in for business. And probably, for the most part, they're all going to have their pros and their cons, and residents potentially speaking out against them or in favor. But, we have to take all that information that we get from people, weigh it, and then make a decision. And I think that just because sometimes council might make a decision that maybe some residents didn't agree with, doesn't necessarily mean that we didn't listen to them. If we listen and we put restrictions and we put conditions to try and address their concerns, I don't think in that area over there there was any way that we could have addressed those concerns in that particular spot. And to the Deputy Mayor's point, I've already been in contact with this applicant and put him in contact with someone else about a different location in the town that might be good for them. So
Yeah.
anyway, with that, thank you for the work on that, and I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. I'm
Carried.
sure the residents will be relieved when they hear that. The next one, and again, in the interest of time, we do have some lengthy items here, so I'll give the background highlights, and if anyone has any additional questions, they can just stop me. The next one is application C 2021-81, 81 Camp Carey Road, which is agricultural AG land use zone. It's a proposed 30-meter cell tower antenna, discretionary use. The town is in receipt of an application by Bell Mobility Inc. proposing to construct a 30-meter high cellular tower and associated 4.5 meter square large equipment shelter on a portion of property at 81 Camp Carey Road. The property is located within the agricultural land use zone of the Development Regulations 2021 and 2025, and such proposal is discretionary. The application was processed in accordance with Regulations 33 and 90, requiring public notification and final decision at the discretion of council. I will highlight, because everyone received a copy of this, but 11-page petition signed by approximately 84 residents of Bernice Drive, Weather Station Road, Camp Carey Road, and Barnmarsh Road area, some living at the same civic address, as well as a number of individual representations were received opposing the proposal. Copy and location maps can be found in your package, as well as the committee minutes from the August 31st meeting. So committee took this into great detail and looked and evaluated all the concerns of the area residents. And while we do note that a tower to enhance service in the general area is needed, it's not supported at this particular location by area residents, and residents believes it's too close to the homes, may negatively affect the neighbourhood, and suggest it could be moved 1,000 metres up the road at a site. But residents also cited that the proposed tower location is obstructing existing views and therefore have a potential impact on property values. Committee noted they've also considered all of Bell's emissions, including existing tree buffers on the highway, and still believe the tower is too close to the existing residential homes. So based on the number of concerns raised and potential impacts on the properties, committee does not support this proposal and is forwarding an application to tonight's meeting with the recommendation for refusal. So the motion as presented is to refuse the proposed construction of 30-metre high cell tower as proposed by Bell Mobility Inc. on a proportion of property at 81 Camp Carey Road, application C 2021-081, in keeping with regulations 33 and 90 of the Torbay Development Regulations 2015 to 2025 pertaining to discretionary use for reasons outlined above in attached background information and planning land use development committee minutes. So moved.
Second.
Before we go any further with this, I got to ask a question. If might be in a potential conflict, because I recently started working for Bell Canada. I don't think that I am. There's no benefit to me from this, but council would have to decide.
I'd err on the side of caution.
Yeah, if your employer is directly involved in this, I would excuse yourself for that.
Yeah. And at the time when this came forward, I wasn't working for them, so it was only a recent development. So,
Just don't want to put yourself in that position, right?
I think that I probably would be
Put
in
that
my
in
best
some motion,
interest.
huh?
Yeah.
There's a motion.
Do you want to move it, Jeff?
To support that
Yes,
mayor's
please.
Yeah. Go
Okay.
over, Jeff.
And again, I'm not sure if it's a quote-unquote conflict, but it's an employer, so that's why there's 7 of us, right? I move that Mayor Craig Scott be allowed to remove himself from this motion due to potential conflicts due to employment status.
Second.
Oh. I turn the chair over to you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was waiting for that. All in favor?
Aye.
Just so point of order though, if
Yeah.
you've got to leave the room, right?
Yeah, I'm leaving.
Yeah,
After you
he's
do
gone
your
now.
motion, I leave, right?
Oh, right,
Yeah.
sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Aye.
Thank you, Councillor Glant. Thank you, Councillor Thorngass.
Yeah, so that's our rationale behind it, and I know at the beginning during the first question and answer period, Madam Chair, you may recall there was an email pertaining to this from a resident, and so if everyone supports us, that's our recommendation to reject it.
Do we have any comments or questions? Councillor
I
Thorngass?
have a okay.
Yeah.
I'd just like to add once again that this is something, I guess, with regards to petitions. And there was a lot, I know I've received a lot of phone calls as well as the petition on this one. And I know that it's an awkward position because today our director had been contacted. That Bell would have liked to have the opportunity to, I guess, discuss and respond to some of the issues that are ongoing with regards to the petition. However, with the comments and the petition and everything that took place, I feel like, obviously, very strongly that this one should have been refused. And some of the residents that I had spoke to, they realize and they know that a cell tower is required in the area, because even in some of their homes, they had to be in a certain place. If not, they wouldn't get reception. And it's in there in the comments, they're saying that if it could be moved like 1,000 meters, they're saying back, that they're not totally against it, but in that particular location that they have selected, it's firmly against that. So I just wanted to elaborate a bit on the rationale for coming forward with this recommendation.
I'd like to add too that from what we know from other provinces and in the States and that the fallout from those, because it is all electricity and everything like that, the radiation from that, and even the grounds dry up, you know, and all that stuff. And you're putting something like that where there's liviers and children, and, you know. So I think I would be for it if they were moving it to another place further away from living people, from people. So
you.
I go with the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Roach. Anyone else have a comment?
Just for clarification, for now, we're just rejecting their application. So if Bill wants to come back to the drawing board and do a new proposal, or meet with residents and look at something else, then we'd, you know, discuss it there and then. But right now, we're not, you know, going to move it anywhere or anything. We're just going to reject it. That's our.
Because I certainly wouldn't like something like that in my backyard, you know, and that's really true. I'm honest.
Is anyone else?
And I wouldn't
sorry,
want it in
Councillor
our
Roach.
residence either. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't realize, I didn't mean to cut you
I forget
off.
Fiscal here in the chair.
Did you have anything, I'm sorry, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, I just wanted to add that because, you know, that would be my worst wish for that to come here, because that gives cancer. Can help, you know, help it go crazy in your body and destroy our fisheries, you know, little ponds and stuff like that around. So that's it.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comment? Councillor Gallant, you look like you're ready to have something to say.
Yeah, I just want to comment again, I guess. So, am I understanding that new information just came up today, basically, that Bell wanted to meet with the residents and explain to them? Is that?
I wasn't privy to that conversation, but
They contacted, I guess, the director today, and that meeting, or not that meeting, that closed for comments for discretionary disclosure on the 6th, I think it was, of August. So we're looking at, I mean, here we are now, the 6th of September, and if they had wanted to look at the issues and what have you, there was a month that we had gone in there, so no matter what, they would have probably come back at this point in time. I mean, I guess it's a prime example that the residents have spoken, and with regards to the issues. And I also mentioned to, I guess, committee, that a number of years ago, they were looking at putting a tower up by the church, behind actually the History House and Museum. And there was like very few residents spoke up at that time, and a result of that, we ended up going back and rejecting their proposal as well. So now we have like a lot of people. And the other thing that I want to add, Councillor Glant, that might end up going in there as well, the resident in there sold a piece of property, and the resident had no idea that this was literally in his backyard, and he's bought this piece of property to build a new house on, and this tower would actually be in his backyard without knowing anything about it. So that was another thing that came into play. So.
Yeah, I guess just to, just wanted to, just wondering about that, because we were, new information, we were delaying other decisions, passing those along in other instances, so I was wondering if that was something we consider here now. I've been contacted by a resident about this, and of course, you know me, I'm all about if people don't want, if people we do public consultations, and people write in, voice their concerns, then that should be taken very seriously. But one of the things I want to make sure that we're doing this, because I actually didn't realize that the cell tower was on the other side of the bypass from the neighborhood. And do we have actual distances, how far that is from?
there's a site map in the package there with all that pertinent information.
I'm looking at, I just don't see the actual number of where it's
Director Shorts, do you have that?
It just looks it looks further away than I thought it was. Is what I'm trying to say.
Federal government guidelines for the placement of towers is that they have to be a minimum of 3 times the tower length, and it's more than that. So it certainly meets federal government guidelines, and the proponent Bell do have basically like NAV Canada and so forth approvals. Of course, it's also subject to Industry Canada approval, and for this, they are required to go through the public process, and they did request a deferral so they can reply to the residents' concerns. But as indicated, there's a large petition, so that's one thing, I guess, that's before council now.
So one thing I would like to say, in this crazy world that we live in of misinformation and Facebook and feelings versus science and all that good stuff, right? And sometimes politics over facts and all that. Again, I'm prepared to vote no to this actually, because I had a cell tower put in my place. I didn't like it. It was further away. I was like, what are you going to do? And I see what they're saying here, but I think that the residents who put their names forward and spoke up about this, having cell issues and stuff like that, if they're under the impression that that can be resolved, if there's an opportunity for them to get informed about the science behind this, is it dangerous? Is it not dangerous? Right? If it's not dangerous, we can't lead them on and let them know, hey, actually, we're going to let you think it's dangerous. If it's actually not, we got an obligation to tell them the truth and say that it's not, right? And whether people vote for it again going forward or not is another thing, or whether they change their minds or whatever. That's a whole separate issue, right? They can do what they want with the information, but I would like to see the residents actually be informed by Bell or by whomever, just kind of the science behind that. If it's dangerous, it's not, right? Just kind of get them to see that, because I guess the obstructions, hey, it's too close to residents, it's the regulations. It's a pristine view, yeah, I agree, but it's on the other side of the bypass. Concerns about property values, I just don't, and a concern about, because there's concern about RF waves and associated health impacts, right? Because one is the concern about it. I just want to know if that's actually, is that true or not, right? And then, because I don't know. Obviously, that's what a lot of people think, but that's
Councillor Glenn,
right.
I hear you. I think in the interest of time, if you could sum it up, please.
Yeah, I can totally sum it up. I would defer this, just like we deferred the other couple ones, just to give everyone a chance. Because if we vote no right now, they can just reapply in 3 weeks with new council and be voted yes or no. I just like to see the Bell talk to them and give them information.
Thanks, Councillor Glant. Does anyone else have anything new to add to this discussion? No? Okay. Then I'm going to take a quick minute and just say again that I'm really glad to see this recommendation coming from committee, and I feel very strongly that residents should be heard. And, I received those phone calls. I think it's amazing that Mike Manning put together a petition of 80 people, knocked on all those doors, took that time, had the conversation, got the community support behind there. And I mean, that's what we need residents to do. We need residents to make sure that they're communicating with us and working with their neighbors so that we understand what their concerns are. And I think that was amazing what he did, and I want to tip my hat to him. I do have concerns that, this application could come back again. The residents, even though we say no, could be in a situation where they're dealing with this again. But I do want this council and candidates for next council to hear me when I say that resident safety, residents' concerns need to be a priority around this table. And I think it's awesome that we're listening to them and that we are, working with residents to find solutions. And I think that the right decision tonight is to say no to this application, so I'll support the vote. A last comment?
Closing remarks, yeah. So just overall, it's my opinion anyway, and if Councillor Thorngass concurs with me, she can disagree, but it's my opinion as the chair, Bell Mobility is a national telecom company, and they've been preparing for this application for quite some time. You know, they put a lot of work into their drawings and site maps, and it's been sitting on their desk for well over a month, and I believe it was the 6th of August, Councillor Thorne Goss said discretionary use closed. So I feel, as the chair, that if they wanted to meet, you know, we're not dealing with a small independent business, we're dealing with a national telecom company. If they wanted to meet by, you know, it would have been done before now, or it would have came in with their original application. So, you know, I'm still firm on rejecting it, because we've got almost 100 signatures here, and you know, those people have been in there now for several weeks, you know, concerned about all this. So you know, put people out of their misery. I do think that Bell Canada needs to come down and do it, but I think once this is rejected, if they decide to put another application in, our staff can probably educate them and liaise the appropriate steps that council envisions with regards to a public forum and doing things in chronological order. But you know, I don't think we should leave it open-ended to where we are now, and I think, you know, if it does go to the next council, they'll address it correctly, I hope.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. All right, let's call a question. All in favour of the motion as presented?
Aye.
All right, carried, thank you. Don, would you mind getting the mayor, please, and bringing him back? Thank you all.
Thank you. I'll wait for him to come back before I get the other one.
Okay.
All right.
7 Durapoy Drive,
Would you drive everybody out?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Getting boring.
Yeah.
They all missed you.
Mayor left in place of the
All right, where are we?
Item number 5 is next.
Hang on.
That's Town of Logie Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove referral letter. Proposed St. John's Urban Regional Plan Amendment number 1, 2021, and that's for 134-150 Dorrans Lane. The town of Torbay is in receipt of a referral by the town of Logie Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove as it relates to a proposed regional plan amendment in the area of the Hadeland past the current end of Dorrans Lane to re-designate an area from restricted open space conservation to urban development and residential use for a single dwelling estate lot. Copies of the corresponding documentations are attached, and the committee reviewed the proposed amendment documents and recommends that a written response is provided to the town of Logie Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove as per the following motion. Motion as presented is motion to respond and respectfully request that the town of Logie Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove and the minister work closely with the East Coast Trail Association to ensure that the protective and restrictive designation and zoning around the East Coast Trail is retained to serve as a buffer for the trail, as more specifically outlined in an attached planning committee minutes, to ensure that the integrity and view planes of the ECT, East Coast Trail, are protected from the local, regional, provincial, national, and worldwide tourism market and use for future generations to come. So moved.
Second.
Moving to second. Questions, comments? Councillor Clay?
Yeah, I'm going to talk now while I can, right? So
Yeah.
I need another can of Coke.
probably talk more once I'm not sitting here, by the way. So I read through this. I'm got a lot of concerns about a lot of the frankly weak sauce words around trying to protect the East Coast Trail. Am I incorrect in assuming that this needs, where it's a change to the regional plan, that it requires our approval, right?
Requires our feedback, not necessarily approval.
I thought regional plan stuff, I thought everyone needed generally rubber stamp stuff.
Well, we have to provide a response to their request, that's all.
Okay, so it's not up for approval or disapproval, it's just a response at the moment to kind of feel it out, right?
I'm not exactly sure. I would think that Don, do you know how that works?
Just to ask the director.
Just a point of order too, we got,
Actually, yeah.
might want to note in the minutes that we're short a councillor.
Yeah, Councillor Rhodes.
Pause the,
It's a standard practice for any regional plan amendment that the municipality that's proposing to undertake it to contact all the municipalities that are subject to the regional plan. So that's, Northeast Avalon. And then the commentary that gets fed back to that municipality will be forwarded to the minister, because the minister is the one who would consider the amendment. So they will be taken into consideration, but it's not a decision. We're not a decision-making body, really. It's the town of Logie Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove, but it's subject to the minister's approval.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks for the question. I guess my concerns are, there's a lot of really weak language in there with regards to protection for that open space, the East Coast Trail. And the East Coast Trail is a provincial resource, right? This is, and I'm all about, like, you can develop and stuff like that, but it's kind of like, we'll work with to ensure, like, it needs to be a lot more solid than that. We've got a little bit of experience over the past 12 years with making sure that if you don't put things in hard stone, then it's going to be, inches are going to be given, inches are going to be expected and foots are going to be taken, right? Metaphorically and sometimes literally, right? You can set your zoning so that you can actually have things zoned outside, right? We've run into problems in this town specifically with conservation zones where we said, okay, this is going to be residential, but we're still going to conserve on it. Like, it's nothing but problems with that. So it needs to be just super clear, I think. And I would just, advise that when they go to do this, that they should set the boundaries to make sure that they're out, that things are set in stone, that things won't be negatively impacted. Because tough thing about conservation, you can just do it once and then it's over. Then then that's going lots of times that can snowball, right? And if Outer Cove, if Logie Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove are able to convince the province that the East Coast Trail won't be impacted by developments like this, and it actually could be potentially, if you're not really super careful about it, then Torbay is next, right? And then Booch Cove's next, Flat Rock's next, and then we're going to wake up and we're going to talk about the time we had the best coastal trail in the world 20 years ago, before we sold out to, sold out's the wrong word, but before we actually did, we did things that negatively impacted that. And we just really advise to be super, super careful, and there's lots of room. This is multiple hectare. This is a huge rezoning. It doesn't need to be all the way. It can be, in my opinion, I guess, on the map, made on the outset to make sure that impacts can't be done. And once it gets done, and then you're going to go work with people afterwards, I think it's too late, and then people are going to regret the decision long term.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Pollard.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I concur with Councillor Gillen's comments in terms of the change. It is, and I don't know what detail was provided, and so if I speak to something that's, the detail is there, then I apologize. But, to take a swath of land and take it from restricted open space conservation to urban development, obviously they're doing it for this single dwelling estate lot, whatever it is. We have no idea what the area is, whether there might be wetlands in there as well, that type of scenario, right? So, as much information as we can get, or as many recommendations we can put back to make sure that the character of the open space conservation stays there, and that the natural assets, I guess, that are protected, rather than just remove it all together. That'd be my concern overall.
All right, thank you. Councillor Gauss?
I'm just looking at, I guess, when this came to committee, with the diagram, the map that was there, director was uncertain, unsure where, I guess it was actually going through, but it appears where we were looking at, that it would actually, portion of it for this lot would be going across, infringing on the East Coast Trail. And I think that when you look at the diagram and the information that we have, and I don't know about the words being strong enough, but we really have to do what we can to protect the East Coast Trail. As I, for one, like I sit on a committee that we're looking at the protection of the East Coast Trail, and I couldn't believe when you hear the discussions about so many communities are actually doing this, that they're infringing on, and as a result of that, I mean, we have issues with our trails and people blocking it off, but it's a whole other thing, and we have it here even in Torbay, where people, once they get there, they don't want anybody on the trails behind their house, but whatever we need to do to emphasize this with the Luggy Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove, I think we need to make sure that how strongly that we all feel about it and preserving the East Coast Trail. So, and again, like there's a large diagram, a map and that in our package outlining where this is actually to.
Right there.
Anyone else?
I just, if I could, echo the same concerns that have been raised here. You know, we've got a beautiful, pristine area where people come, they enjoy our eco-tourism. A lot of that is around the hiking, the trails, and the beautiful scenery that we have here. And I think that we need to be especially careful to make sure that we are preserving and looking after you know, areas like that in the region. So I would really like to make sure that the communication that goes back very clearly shares the concerns that this council has raised tonight, and then the minister can be aware of our thoughts and concerns as the consideration is given to this application, Luggy, Middle Cove, Outer Cove. Thank you.
Okay, fair enough. Hang on, now before we go, so to this point, I think that my own personal opinion is that I don't like it when someone tells us what to do with our town.
No.
However, this is sent out to us for feedback, and I think that we provide some constructive feedback to them, and hopefully they've considered everything that we've talked about. But if they haven't, when they get their feedback, they might look at it and say, oh, we never thought about that, and maybe we should look into that as well. So I think it's important that we do provide that. I'm sure that as this amendment moves forward, that when you're talking about something as significant as the East Coast Trail that everybody knows about, you would hope that the town that's planning under amendment and that the minister and the department would look at all that and get feedback. I'm sure that when we do something like this, when we do an amendment, we always forward it to the East Coast Trail Association for feedback, right? So I'm hoping that they do that too. So maybe we could add that to our communication to ask them that they consult with the East Coast Trail just so that they can.
I asked on
get
that point, and just
All right.
for 1 second, Director, to forward a copy of this information and what have you to Randy Murphy. Randy, right? That's the right director?
Yes.
Yeah, make sure that we communicate with them in case they weren't aware of any of this
Okay.
happening, so that everybody is in the loop on it, because that often happens as well.
All right, good, thank you. All right, all in favor?
Do we need to change the wording on that in any way to make it a little more solid than it is? Does everyone think that is fine the way it is? Do we want to reconsider the wording to make it?
I think that well, I don't know. I mean, I think that the motion and the comments that council have made, that the director has taken that into account, and when she actually writes back her letter, that she will take all that into account, right? Yeah. So
And I took some notes now too, so I will add to the content that's already in the public package.
Okay.
Mayor, just one point of it though, it doesn't say to consult with the East Coast Trail. Maybe if we add that, what do you think about that to the motion? I think as it stands, I'm fine with the motion, but I do think it's important that we suggest in the motion that we ask that they consult with the East Coast Trail Association. If
And
we
they might have done that, so.
Yeah, if we
Director
could
can-
maybe
I believe
have a
it's
friendly
mentioned in the minutes, so I will certainly make sure to put that in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
So we won't need an amendment to
No.
that, but just, okay, thank you.
all right, thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. The second last one, we're almost there, is the Climate Change Action Mitigation Plan, and the Torbay Environment Advisory Committee recently concluded its reviews of the town's 2020 Climate Change Mitigation Plan, as well as an associated resident survey that was undertaken in the spring of 2021. The Climate Change Mitigation Plan is a living document and a accumulated support and effort of council and several departments within the town of Torbay and Fundamental Inc., who's done some work for us. And we've also participated in FCM's Transition 2050 program, and a copy of the Climate Change Mitigation Plan 2020, as well as a copy of the Resident Survey recommendations by TEAC and PLUD committees. Meeting minutes of August 31st are attached. We recommend that climate change crisis reaching another level. A recent scientific report stated that Climate Code Red and TEAC now recommending for Council to proceed with adoption of the plan as a living document. That's updated every 3 years. So this will be our contribution to those national efforts. So motion as presented is to adopt the Torbay Climate Change Mitigation Plan 2020 as a working document to further explore the formation of a Torbay Climate Resilience Action Team and to propose considering climate resilience as a topic in future strategic planning and budgeting initiatives by Council. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? Deputy Mayor?
Just a quick question around the water and wastewater part of the plan. We've got the leak detection program, water metering program, water metering new construction policy, water conservation campaign, engineered wetland wastewater treatment, and the advanced watershed model. I spoke with a resident today, and you know, we were talking about wastewater and concerns around that. And you know, when we talked about it, and I said, when we looked at this as a council early on, it came to be about a $20 million project for council to take on, and we've been having conversations and working to see what resources could be available to look at what options are available there. But knowing full well that, you know, many municipalities don't have the capacity and ability to do the work that needs to be done around wastewater. So I know that under these initiatives we have, you know, water metering, very important initiatives that are there. But I'm wondering, when this was being looked at, was there any further discussion around wastewater action, development, possibilities, opportunities under new initiatives? Because I'm just curious to see if there's anything else there that we could maybe ask the department or staff to have a look at to see if there's anything else around that. I'm just curious about dialogue around that piece. I don't know if Julie, maybe if you could speak to that.
In general, all those items that are listed, they will require much more detailed review. Over the course of this year or maybe last year, Director of Infrastructure, Public Works and I had reviewed some of the wetland treatment systems, and we did get a quote for a proposal to see if it was feasible to do kind of a number of decentralized wetland treatment systems. But that's as far as it went at that point. So I can't speak more to any other system review. I know it's a matter of importance from a federal perspective, and but that's as far as it went. So all these items that are listed here really would need to be talked about further and priorities set, and then also looked at probably under the 2022 budget cycle as to where there may be some funding dedicated towards a small study to look at the decentralized wetland systems or alternate study on wastewater treatment. Okay.
Thank you. I'd like to, you know, I know we have a lot on our plate, and there's a lot of work that goes through council. I just want to make sure that I didn't see a lot in there about it, and I just want to make sure that it stays high on our priority list of. I know it's a very big price tag, and it's something that's complicated for us to work towards. I do, but I just want to make sure that it's something that we are still continuing to look at, work on, and make sure it's a priority. I know it is in our strategic plan, and I want to make sure that it's reflected, because I didn't see a lot of it in here. That's all.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Councilor Pollard?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think it's a great motion itself, and I was when I read down through the document, as I was going on through, I was thinking back in my mind, I hope the motion doesn't say to adopt it in its entirety and in its detail, because there's certainly a lot of work around it. So I'm pleased that the motion is setting the framework, I guess, to make sure that we take climate change mitigation plans into effect for anything we do. I question the word to propose considering climate resilience. I think we should build climate resilience and climate change mitigation into whatever we do on a go-forward basis. So for proposed considering it, I think it might be a little loose, but it's certainly, you know, a good first step overall. But if I can't come up with another word now to solidify that, to suggest an alternate motion to it, but you know, I certainly, you know, kudos to the committee and to the initiative itself, I guess, from a carbon footprint and greenhouse gas emission and the whole climate change side of things, and the Deputy Mayor's point on the wastewater and that as well. So it covers all areas, I guess, what it boils down to. When you read down through it, there's not any particular area of operation that's not touched by the mitigation plan itself. So I think that speaks really well to this motion. I just like to see if we do something more than considering. I think we should make it mandatory to build in climate resilient considerations into whatever we do in the future.
Why don't you propose that as an amendment, as a motion change?
You know, I can never repeat the same thing twice, don't you? I always say that. Sure. I mean, can we change it to say that we build climate resilience into all future strategic planning and budgeting initiatives?
That,
Director, would that be okay with you?
So the wording is to include it in the, can you rephrase the wording just in the second section of the paragraph,
You're going to try
please?
my memory tonight, aren't you? Anybody who knows me, I can't repeat the same thing exactly twice, so I just play it back. And to build, I guess, take considering out and proposed, and to build climate resilience as a topic in future strategic planning and budgeting initiatives by Council. To strike out proposed considering and to include climate resilience as a topic.
Yeah, and to include climate resilience.
So that to me is just a friendly amendment.
Yeah,
It doesn't change the nature of the
No.
motion.
no,
So are we okay with that friendly
I'll
amendment?
second that.
yeah.
Yeah? All right. So, do you get that changed? Kim? Okay. All right. So, all in favor of the motion as amended? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really, and I think the big thing with that one is the fact that it's a living document, and the Torbay Environment Advisory Committee, I mean, this is something that when they came out and talked about Code Red, how important it is for us to take all this in consideration, so it's all good.
Continue, sir.
All right.
Before you read that, I think I may have to call it, declare a conflict for this one. This is about the Torbay Beach down at Lower Street. And just because I'm an employee of DFO, I don't really want to vote on something which could be impacted where it's near the ocean or anything to do with anything. Like, at the end of the day, when we discussed this at the Economic Development Committee, the first thing I did was note that I'm a federal employee and I work with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, and I asked that it get put back to planning, and I certainly don't want to take a decision on this tonight and have it impact me. Although it's a stretch, same as maybe it was for you, Mayor, but I think it's really important to acknowledge that and ask Council for a decision on should I declare a conflict or not on this before the motion comes forward.
So I do think there's actually some difference in that. One was, I guess, the Bell was for in the case of the mayor's part, Bell was actually the applicant putting this forward.
Right.
This is just something that says, hey, that is involved. DFO's, DFO's not making a proposal here or anything like that. Like, I don't think that it'd be very hard to be on council if you can't vote on anything, do anything shoreline, right? Like that's what you or whatnot, right? But it's something. If DFO were doing a specific application, I think that would qualify. I think I would put forward a motion that you're okay in this regard.
Yeah, if I could just get a motion
So
before we
you're
take
putting
a
it forward,
vote,
the motion that,
that I'm not in conflict, is that what you're doing?
yeah.
Point of clarification, I did have a subsequent conversation with our economic development officer, because I know you were concerned at our economic meeting, and she said the involvement of DFOs to the capacity of our proposal is going to need to go into Department of Fisheries and Oceans for approval. So I think that's where the Deputy Mayor's concern was coming. Her employer has to accept our proposal. So
Well, I think that's in the similar vein of if you work for the provincial government, right? If you work, if that were the case, you couldn't be on council if you worked for municipal government. If everything goes back to the municipal government, I think this. I would think you're fine.
Make the motion.
Yeah, I just want to ask the question, have a motion,
I
please.
move that Deputy Mayor is not in conflict for motion
Crown land application.
Crown Land application.
Okay.
Folk Arts Council, Torbay Beach Crown Land application.
Second.
Moved, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
all right. Town of Torbay is in receipt of an inquiry by the Torbay Folk Arts Council proposing to construct an access and small performance stage for Torbay Beach. Copies of the proposal, location map, and committee meeting minutes are enclosed. In the interest of furthering this initiative, the committee is recommending that council apply for a Crown Lands license to occupy a portion of Torbay Beach for purpose of constructing an access and performance stage for the Torbay Folk Arts Council and other groups. Therefore, the following motion is tabled. Motion as presented is motion to apply for a Crown Land license to occupy portion of Torbay Beach, North or Lower Street, for purpose of constructing an access and performance stage for the Torbay Folk Arts Council and other community groups in town events. So moved.
Second.
Motion to seconder. Any questions? Go ahead.
Thanks again. Sorry, I don't need to be going first every time here tonight, but
Sorry.
I think it's a cool idea. Just the exact location. I guess I'm just concerned about where's the exact location on this? Is this actually on the beach or is this on the
No,
hillside?
it's on the battery.
It's on the battery,
Up
right?
top, yeah. Right at the end of Lower Street, on the other side of the guardrail,
Right. Okay, I know exactly what we're talking
where they
about.
play now.
Okay, so I'm going to end up arguing with myself here. I think this doesn't qualify. I guess we've had problems before or controversial things where people wanted to develop on the coast side of the East Coast Trail, which of course is not allowed in the town of Torbay, certainly. Does this meet this license to occupy and where it's a stage? Can we fit this into our regulations, or is this is somehow disqualified? Because
Question,
it's
I would guess it's passive recreation, which is allowed in conservation zone, and it's not a permanent structure either, I
Right.
think, right? Or is it?
Right now, really, like, the proposal is to apply for the use of the land because it's not ours. It's not the town's land. So once we have confirmed that, if we can use it, then we would go through the application process, and we have to make sure that we're like outside of the high water mark and the 15-meter buffer. And I had referred it already to Stewardship Association, and so there will be like environmental referrals and all of that. But that was at a pre-application stage.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I just want to make sure we don't accidentally do something that we're not supposed to do, shoot ourselves in the foot. And so that's a cool idea.
Fair enough. So this is just to get the Crown Land grant, right? Livestock by. Okay.
This has been on the go since June, and I personally cannot believe how long that it's after taking this to get this far. This is for the folk arts community to be able to go down there where they go Sundays and maybe another day during the week. And the land, it slopes off. So for them to be able to go down and have something solid to stand on so that it's flat, it's not a major thing, it's just a flat stage for them to go down and have access. And to think that it's after taking from June until September, where they can't because they've been shut down now for, obviously, for the summer. And we've had so much discussion, and it's been involved with every committee on council to be able to go down and to put just a flat platform there. So if I sound frustrated, yes, I am, because this is something to me that probably could have happened realistically in at least a few weeks. And it's so involved, and to think that a town our size have got hung up in such red tape in trying to make something like this happen. So I was so glad that finally, when the director came and said that it was gone for Crown land application, it's, you know, at least to see it, so it'll be up and ready to go for next spring. So, you know, that's one of the groups that go endlessly to try to entertain and free of charge for whatever during the summer. So to think that it's breaching on conservation and who owned the land and all this, it's, to me, it's just, I only can imagine what the residents and people must feel, because I'm frustrated with the whole process and I'm on council and living it. So I just wanted to add my 2 cents worth for this.
Mayor?
Thank you, Worship. Councillor Thorngass, I hear your frustration, but I have to disagree. I think that it's really important to make sure that we know who has ownership of that land. I think it's really important for us to make sure that we're doing it right, and if we're going to be, you know, putting infrastructure on our shorelines, that we have permission and we've done it the right way. So there have been issues that have come to the table here in the last 4 years that I've been here, where things have happened and we found out afterwards that there were issues that, had we have known the difference, because this work was not done up front to make sure that people's property was understood, who owned what and where things went. So I hear your frustration, and I know that, you know, it's really important that we have volunteers who are, you know, willing to play the instruments and have community events and do this for free. It's amazing what the gentlemen are doing and people are doing to offer this in our town. But I do feel strongly that it is very important for us as a town to make sure that we know who owns the land, that we have the right rights to it, that we do speak and work with, you know, SAM and other organizations to make sure that once we've done it right and it's done properly. So I want to tip my hat to committee and staff for making sure that the process is being followed and things are done right here. And I do hope, as you said, to see resolution for this next year for the people who are singing. I think it's a great ad for the community, and I really do appreciate what they do, and I think this stage will be good for them at the end of it. So, thank you. That's it for me.
Anyone else?
No further comment.
Okay, I share your frustration, Councillor Zorngas, but I think that we need to make sure that we always follow our own rules when we're doing things. And I would hate to do something that's not within our rules, and then someone else who owns property down there within that zone come forward after and say, well, if you can do that, then how come I can't do this? So I think that's always my fear, and I think that no matter what we do, even if it comes back to haunt us or it doesn't go perfect every time, at least if we follow our own rules, that we can say, well, we followed our rules. Maybe the rules are not perfect, and then if we don't like the rules that we have, we can always change them. But it's important to work
I'm not
with them.
saying
I understand what you're saying.
not
I
to
know.
follow the rules. I'm just saying how come it took so long. That's
know.
and I'm one that, yes,
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, 30 years ago, that thing would already be built,
yes.
right? So anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, that ends my motions report.
Holy moly.
Now
Another
to,
half hour for the
now to
minutes.
get into the minutes.
You know, I skimmed down for the minutes, and mostly everything in there is related to items already discussed. So there are 2 sets of minutes in there if anyone has any questions. And also the meeting notes from our August 11th public meeting on 1235 Torbay Road is also included in there. So I didn't see anything that stood out different from what's already been discussed. So if there's no other questions, that ends my report.
Can I ask a question? Just wanted to get an update on what's happening with the Kennedy's Brook email that came in today.
There is,
Do we have an update on that?
Excuse me.
I asked for a motion for that this evening. Where are we on it?
Who went, Director Short, did you want to elaborate on it?
Well,
Or Councillor Sorndas?
Well, obviously, when that came in with regards to having a motion tonight, that's not something that we would be able to do with regards to some of the issues that have come forward lately. So, I mean, that never had a chance to come and be discussed at committee or at council. So, I spoke with the developer, and she's fine. Her big thing is getting a survey done, and the whole thing will have to come back. I mean, anybody know that when an appeal is in place, that you can't get into the legalities until that appeal is withdrawn. So to have that come to us tonight for a motion, that to me is not proper procedure. We'd be setting a precedent, and on one, when we talk about procedure, and we just talked about that, I guess, with regards to land ownership and down on the beach and how important it is to follow proper protocol and what have you, that I think that this is one that we would be jeopardizing our whole process in order to make something like that. So the developer is fine, that's been resolved, and it will come forward at our next council meeting for a motion after it's been discussed. We took 6 or 7 months to basically, and I remember, and he's sitting next to me here now, with regards to talking about trails and how important it is to have the discussion, and you can't be precedent setting. So it's being resolved, and that will come to the next committee meeting.
all right.
Question, though, on that. The residents have, since this decision was taken in the middle of April, and the residents have been in communication with us via email and other ways of correspondence since the 30th of April. And they stepped away from their appeal in good faith with the expectation that the town is not going to put a trail on the back of their property. So the question I'm asking is it possible for us to do a motion tonight where we can at least confirm for them that we are not going to put a trail across their property?
I've got, hold on a second, and I don't want to do this, it's not on the agenda, there's no motion here, but there's been, the decision, the whole point of doing that land swap was to take a asset that we have, land asset, swap it for another land asset, and then get a trail going specifically to that, right? If, you know, no trail, no sale, right? So they could, at no point in time did this council go back on not putting a trail in, regardless of what you said to people or emails go back and forth. This is a governing body. We all voted on. We stand by what we did. That was the whole point of that. The whole crux was of that land swap. Was that I remember the fear I had. I said, guys, what's going to happen is we're going to swap this thing, and we're not going to get that trail, and it's going to be like the Simpsons elevator to nowhere, right? And then we're going to get. I don't want to use any strong words, but you know exactly what I mean. And people are going to look, and it's going to look terrible that we just did this, and you know what? They can't even get. You know, I don't want to say anything that I'm going to regret, but that was the whole point. That was the whole fear. You can't just swap it, and all of a sudden we took this piece of land, we've got that, and then we got a park no one get to, right? And we have that trail thing going in. That motion was passed, and we got to stick by our decision. You can't go back afterwards. You can't have it both ways, right? Anyway, so I'm just saying, just clarify. We can talk about it later on or whatever like that, but just. As of now, the trail's going, right?
Councillor Gallant, the decision of council can be rescinded at any point.
Well, rescind the trail then, 2 weeks before the election if you want.
Order, please. Wait. Just for some clarification. The committee and staff communicated back with the applicant today, and the applicant advised that she wants to revise her application, which is the application to amend the subdivision agreement, right? So that has to go back to committee. We can't deal with that tonight. Subdivision agreements are legal agreements, documents. They're not 1 or 2 pages. So that has to get its full vetting by staff and by the committee, and then come back. So I think that that's fine. we understand the communications that residents sent us back. You know, we'd be remiss not to consider that when they go back to look at everything. So I'm fine. I mean, it has to go back through the committee for us to try and pass a motion tonight without any information. I mean, zero. We could be getting ourselves into a lot of hot water. So I'm fine with taking the approach that the committee is doing, right?
Because they're literally would be looking at doing that swap and proceeding with a development, but we don't know what we're getting back in return.
No.
Like, that's so much more complicated than what it appears right now. And I mean, I came when we talked about this in the beginning, and I know what Councillor Glant is saying, because I was concerned because they had the sale of that house pending months ago, and we were trying to move on that at that point in time, and everything came to a standstill until we had everything done legally, and what you were saying, the same thing. So to be able to try to do something like here tonight without having proper information, I, for one, would not be able to support that.
I just think that, you know, I hear you saying that we need to look after the developer, and I think we do, but I also think we need to look after the residents. And I think it's important that their voices are heard at this table. And Councillor, to your comment of what I told them, I didn't tell them anything on this. There's been correspondence from staff telling us not to engage because this is something that's been handled by staff.
Oh, you haven't talked to the residents at all?
Excuse me.
I haven't spoken to them since we were told by staff not to. What I'm saying, though, is that their voices need to be heard here. And in an act of good faith, they've taken that appeal and they've dropped it to try to find a solution. And there has been an attempt between the contractor and the residents to work together to find a solution. And what I'm asking for, just let me finish, please. What I would like is to ask, what I was asking for was a motion so that at least the residents could feel or know that there's an act of good faith coming back in that we're not going to put a trail in their backyard.
Well, I
Because
mean,
this has been ongoing now for 4 months.
there's a recommendation going to come back for the committee.
Yeah,
And the only reason they can go back and do that now is because the residents withdrew their appeal.
absolutely.
Sure.
So to me, it's not whether we're accommodating a developer or accommodating the residents. We're accommodating everybody. And I don't think that we should change our process to give preference to one group or another, because that's only going to get us in even more trouble. Eventually, a recommendation will come forward. If the residents don't like it, or if council don't like it, then we could vote against it. And if they don't like it, they could appeal it. So I think that the process works. This is proven that it works, and we just need to let our staff and our committee go ahead and do their work and not make it more convoluted or even more confusing. That's just my thought on it.
And I agree with
I
that.
just want to, again, I'd like, if we want to debate it, we should have things in a package, like, kind of like what you did, I guess, a couple weeks ago, when there was some information didn't want things brought forward, discussed without everyone having the information all together, they kind of in black and white in front of them type of thing. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, we swapped the land, we traded a public asset, right, with money, and traded it for something that was valuable to us like that. If there's no trail to get there, then we're getting rid of an asset, just like you get rid of this computer or something for something that's valueless, and there's going to be this. It's a public thing. This is not a private company. We can't just do that. We have to get value back, right? Or there'd be like a freaking inquiry into us getting rid of land for developers right now. And you can't have it both ways. The sale was pending the swap and the trail, right? So if there's no trail, then you got to go back to the developer and say, well, then there's no sale, and like there's got to be one or the other, right?
All right,
Can't have it both ways.
Two things. Number one, we don't have a motion on the floor about anything to do with it, so there's no good at debating it. Number two, the deputy mayor was trying to make a point about a motion. And please finish your thought.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess what I want to make sure is that there's a win-win here. And this has been an ongoing dialogue since April. And so what I'm asking for and what I'm asking committee for is to find a solution that's a win for the contractor, a win for the residents, and a win for the town. And very clearly, the conversation the last little while has been, we don't want this in our backyard. It impacts our property. It impacts our property values. The same conversation that we had with Spray Lane. You know, this does not make sense. It's got a negative impact here. And as we talked about earlier, please, Councillor Gallant, let me finish. I think that it's important that we continue to work with our residents, as we've had clear examples tonight of what we did with Camp Carey, what we did with Spray Lane, to find a win-win resolution here. That's all that I'm asking for. And I do understand, I mean, process is important, there's no question about that. But I'm looking at this, I'm not saying that we can't have a trail, Councillor. What I'm saying is not in that location where we had proposed in the beginning. And the conversation with the contractor has been, I'm willing to come back and have a win-win and work with the residents and the department and the town to find a solution here. That's all I'm asking for.
Okay, so let us just let that go back and happen.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Could I
Councillor
ask
Rose?
one question?
Sure.
Excuse me. I didn't hear anything at all about traffic control going down to the beach for, for the music and all that stuff. And that's another issue that have to be factored into all of this. Where are people going to park their cars? Is it going to be controlled by our people that we have hired out? And, how you're going to do that. So keep that in mind too, because, people, if you hear music, you're going to be drawn down. And a lot of us, we got our legs, but a lot of people don't. They're going to be driving, and they're going to need places, and there's someone putting their car on your lawn, and there's somebody doing it. So factor all that into it when you're getting on your committees and getting together for our council of a whole, and come back with some things like that. I'm just throwing that out, because that will be occurring, I'll be the first one there.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other questions on the planning report?
Just one point of clarification on the meeting minutes on page 104 for comments that I made. It says here, have not seen all the work that was done. I'm assuming that's a reference to the point there that I have made about making sure that all of the conditions for the approval in principle, I'm assuming that's what that line is referring to. But I do say further down here that it's important, now looking forward to seeing that all the residential conditions have been met. What I'm talking about there is all those conditions that I referenced earlier, the 21 of them, the approval in principle. I'm wanting to see how those have been met. Because we talked about a few minutes ago about following our own rules, and I think that's very important. And that's exactly what I'm looking for in the public package when it comes back. So that's it for me.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, we can come back tomorrow night and finish the rest of it.
Oh, my God.
Long meeting.
Admin and Finance, Councilor Pollard?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to say I keep you all night talking about finances, but I don't have that much information in front of me at the present time, so I could digress. We did meet Tuesday last week. We meet at 8 o'clock in the morning with myself and Deputy Mayor and Director Snellgrove. Regular payroll for 48 employees for the 2-week period ended August 18th. Was $99,894.25. The final payroll for the 10-day camp staff for 7 days ended in October, or in August 27th, was $8,881.60. Accounts payable invoices processed for the period, 2-week period ended August 27th, was $181,186.79. And there are a number of invoices here for approval. July 22nd for Newfoundland Power for street lighting in the amount of $19,932.36. H&M Paving for repair to driveway cuts in the amount of $8,337.50, and that relates to some culvert work we did on Karen Drive. And obviously, once you do culvert work, you have to tear up some driveways, and then you have to replace them. ISOF Technologies Canada Corp for the Void Alert System in the amount of $6,825. That's the annual renewal. August 16th to the 31st, and Receiver General for payroll remittance in the amount of $30,206.77. T2 Ventures, Garbage and Recycling, $45,418.10. We're also getting close to the end of that contract now. And those invoices total $110,719 $1,022.73. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
There are 3 capital invoices next, and there's one additional one that came in since we met. First one is to H&M Paving for the paving of the Torbay Volunteer Fire Department Annex in the amount of $7,532.50. And that's part and parcel of the COVID restart funding that we got to do the renovations there in the depot out behind the building here. H&M Paving for speed bumps and raised crosswalks in the amount of $19,090. I don't have the exact breakdown of what they are in front of me, but it's for the number of speed bumps that we actually put in North Pond Road area for sure, and possibly other places. It says $19,090. Progressive Engineering, still ongoing for the 2020 road upgrading and paving that relates to the gas tax projects for Ready Drive and Country Drive, in the amount of $10,164.28, and they total $36,786.78. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And the latecomer was Reclaim Design Studio, and that has to do with the ongoing work at History House, and the amount of $8,050. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
In the minutes itself, you can read that at your leisure. There's a couple of points, I guess, that we discussed in depth, and we actually approved the procurement audit, et cetera, I think the last meeting. But the gas tax funding, we have $263,000 of ballpark, $263,719 that had been previously allocated to projects that is now freed up because the projects came in under budget. So we'll just have to reclaim that and have it available for us to allocate on a go-forward basis for 2024. And that leaves us with $603,633 left in the gas tax account to decide how we want to spend between now and 2024. We responded to the procurement audit. The audit itself was as we discussed in the previous meeting, I think pretty innocuous, and there wasn't a whole lot of major deficiencies, mainly some administrative type work that needs to be a little bit improved on in terms of records we have in the file. So there's 5 recommendations made by PPA, and we have certainly been addressed those for the town, and they are in the document itself once it is published from the procurement agency itself. And we did discuss professional fees for staff and our policy around that, and that's to come back to the committee for further discussion once we get a handle on how many professional fees that we actually do pay out in a given year. The quarter update, there's been some internal discussion around the quarter update. I have a lot of information here, but I guess it has to be organized a little better than it is at the present time. There's some concern over it may be political, and that has to be, I guess, addressed somehow. I don't see it that way, but once all other departments get some input into it, we'll have something out to residents, hopefully between now and next committee meeting. And so ends my report, Your Worship. Anybody have any questions or comments? Feel free.
Just to Councillor Pollard's point, I have the second draft of the term end report now, which I'm going through, so I'll communicate timelines back to our council on that, so.
Okay, thank you. All right. Thank you, sir. Moving on, Economic Development and Tourism, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. So further to the meeting that we had here Thursday night with the Newfoundland Labrador Irish Connection group. Thank you. It's been a long meeting. We had a presentation, and there's a motion here for council. So I'll start with that. The motion is for council to approve that the town of Torbay enter into a partnership with the NLIC to host the Manion project at the Torbay History House and Museum, and that the town commits to providing an annual contribution of $1,200 for the project. So moved.
Second.
Seconder, questions? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so there's some background information in here for anyone that wants to ask any questions. I'm sure you guys have had a chance to flip through it. But in a nutshell, the Mannion family have done tremendous work on this genealogy database. We had a demonstration here. It's fabulous, handwritten cards in there of, accounts of what's going on with people's families. And the proposal here is for the town of Torbay to be the spot in Newfoundland, Labrador for people to come and look up their family heritage and to be able to do something in our community. It's one of those things that brings people in, and we'll get them to come and visit the History House and stay in the community and spend some money and experience Torbay. It also gives us a connection to Ireland, to the group over there and the work that they've been doing with the Irish government to support this project. The majority of the work to build this has been funded by the provincial and federal funding that they've received. And for an amount of $1,200, we would have the annual right and ability to host that here in our very own Torbay History House Museum. So it's a very unique add to the town of Torbay for culture and heritage and tourism. And we're pretty excited to bring it forward. Mayor, I don't know if you have any comments where you were at that meeting with us Thursday night, but...
I do. Well, see if anybody else has a comment or question
Absolutely.
first. So.
No, I think it's really good to see something like this happening, so.
Yeah.
Councillor Glenn?
Yeah, no, I don't see any problem at all with the motion. It sounds awesome, but our history house, the museum is not open yet, right?
Right.
Right.
We can host it as the town. It's just a web link, right?
Okay.
To go on our website.
Yeah, no, it's just I was just weird. It's kind of, it seemed like this was a budget item, like add something that gets added to the budget at budget time type of thing, rather than I don't know. I just found it a bit odd. So,
to that
yeah,
point,
we can just approve it. I guess. Yeah. Now it's just you know what I mean. Like it's kind of like approve a program for next year. It seems like it was a budget item.
just to clarify on that, Councillor, the plan was, as Mayor said, to host it on the town of Torbay's website until the History House is up and functional. And we did have that conversation at the meeting. We talked about when the site for the History House Museum is functional, we'll transition it to there. But right now, we talked about the idea of a History House part of our website where me, as I understand, is working on that page right now. And the link would live there until there's an actual live site for the History House. So, and then we transition that into what's happening there. So what we're talking about actually is having permission to host it here now and have it in the town of Torbay. The physical site of where you would go in and do that will be in the History House when it's open. But this would actually be up and running. And the other thing that Ralph had said, Ralph Tapper was one of the residents that came in and met with us with the Newfoundland Labrador Irish Connection. And what he said was from this decision tonight, he could send communication to their counterparts in Ireland to let them know that on this end, we have a town and a home for it and a plan, and that would help them with their work in Ireland as well, as partnering community, of Torbay in Ireland. So yeah, it would be effective now, this plan.
So what's the $1,200 used for now?
$1,200 will go towards upkeeping the website and having it functional from our end. So it would be something that we have as a town that is here operating, functioning, and we're contributing. The cost to have it hosted, the rights to it, the whole 9 yards is included in that $1,200. But some of that $1,200 will also go towards, the developer who is making sure that all that information in there is kept up to date and the site's functioning. Very good return on investment for what we're going to get out of it.
No, I totally agree. It's just,
Yeah.
usually it says we commit to an annual contribution of. This seems like a budget thing, but I'm probably just being pedantic. Sorry.
Yeah. So, from my perspective with this, when this first was proposed, this was proposed to me about, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago. It was all on the hush-hush because there were so many people going to be looking potentially to want to take this over. And Dr. Mannion and his wife, who've worked on this thing for years and years and years, and how many hours and everything that's gone into it. When they first sent me the link and said, look, this is what we're talking about, I clicked on it, and it was like very rudimentary database, like the HTML code was sticking out through it and everything, and now it's updated to a point where you can go in and you can search on last name, and it's indexed, and you click on it, and one of the features of it, which I think is pretty cool, is that they took all these index cards that somebody actually wrote the information about these people on it, and it links to that instead of just some kind of document. So it also gives it some kind of lore. But I think it's excellent, and it's an opportunity for us with the History House coming on board to have a feature there that people could come from around to go and research and look at it. And it was very important for the Manions that it would go somewhere where, it wouldn't cost somebody money to go use it, and that it was really going to be appreciated and looked after. And I think that the fact that the Newfoundland Labrador Irish connections through their group do have a close connection with the town of Torbay, it actually even lends to that even better. So I think it's excellent, and I can't wait for it to get up and running so Tony can go on and check where he came from. Who's related to him.
No one wants to know that.
Move on.
Okay, anybody else?
I just wanted to say I'm obviously in support as a committee member. I don't recall, though, seeing a meeting invite for them, which is interesting. But I do recall past meetings, and like you say, it was was kept under the table per se. But I am in support of it and think it's a different idea, and it'll be interesting for sure for anyone that avails of it in the future. So I'll support it.
Perfect, thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried?
I forgot that it was a motion.
Councillor Martin, I just checked you were on that meeting invite. Thursday evening. I can certainly send it to you after the meeting. Okay, so for the committee minutes, the date of the meeting was August 26th from 6 to 7. Myself and Councillor Martin participated. Under economic development, we talked about the regional wayfinding project, the Torbay Market, which is scheduled for Saturday, September the 11th from 10 to 4. Advertising is ongoing. We talked about the business awards and worked towards what was going to happen towards the next awards event. We also talked about the fact that the timing of the business awards may be something that we want to look at, not for this year, but in the future. It's something that we could do during Small Business Week around October, but right now with the election and with things as they are, we'll continue with spring, but something that we did ask the Economic Development Tourism Officer to take away and think about. Under tourism, we talked about garden tourism, and we talked about the Torbay Beach request. That came up, and I flagged the conflict, so we referred that back to the Planning Committee for discussion. Under Culture and Heritage, we talked about the Torbay History House Museum, so we had an update that the staff person was in place and that the orientation package was coming together and that the meeting was being called. There was also an update on the Veterans Canada War Memorial Grant, and also we had a chat about my tax funding. So if anyone has any questions on any of those items, happy to answer
What's
them.
happening on that War Memorial one? Because I know that was one CAO had mentioned last year. Do we think we're going to get funding for
Brian,
that for this year?
you were working with Deanne on that one. Did you want to speak to that? Sorry, thank you.
Sort of that a different thought in my head.
Just because I know Deanne had mentioned she was working
Yeah,
with you on
I
that. So
think we're meeting, I'm not sure if it's this week or next week on that. Is it, Jen? The 14th. Yeah, so we're meeting with other department heads on the 14th to discuss what type of plans we want to do there, and we're engaged in the Grand Concourse to help us out with some design work there too as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, sort of that.
Yeah.
Good.
Jen,
When
do you
is the
have any-
deadline to go for that?
Jen, did you have anything to add on that?
No, just the meetings on the 14th, and I said we'll have a plan and what we're going to do moving forward.
Yeah, so we should have an update for the next council meeting.
Yeah, because I think one of the biggest things we're going to try to do is tie the
the common into that site as well for parking and stuff, because, I mean, on July 1st, November 11th, all that, there's always no room for parking. So we're going to try to tie it into the common parking lot with a stairway and make it work that way.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just thinking, and with Councillor Martin, you never touched on the application for the post office.
It wasn't in our package tonight.
I thought there was something in there on it. When we talked about the issue going on with for the movement of the post office and what have you,
I
an
thought that was
update for
coming the
council.
next.
Oh, I thought that we were going to talk about
Director
that.
Short, did you want to elaborate on that?
We just, anyway.
The question is about the post office?
Yeah, about the relocation and about the application that we,
Yeah, there was further information requested from the planning committee, which has been requested, and they're working on it, and I expect to receive it tomorrow morning.
okay, because we need, that's why I know that that was in there in the minutes, because the time sensitivity around that whole application coming forward, I thought that we would have had something for that for tonight and would have been updated, so.
Okay, well, there's the update.
I know.
Perfect. All right, that it, Deputy Mayor?
That's it.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Don't mind me, I just want to go quick. Public Works. Councillor
Now,
Dallas,
for the
carry on.
most important committee update of the night.
As long as it's quick, if it's quick, it's important.
Anyway, we met on September 1st, and Councillor Pollard and Director Winter. History House project is on track for October completion, still on budget. Stormwater management plan, motion to proceed with the extra work to clear out old deadfalls and other trees that are blocking the flow of the stream on the eastern side of Skipper's Landing along the stream channel as per the attached sketch in the amount of $20,000. So moved. And I guess this was
Moved,
some,
seconded. Go ahead.
came up with some issues and what have you in there, and the director went in and met, and this is the estimate that he got from the contractor, and it's really good to have it included in the current project that's taking place in there, so that's where what that's all about.
All right. Go ahead.
This also ties into an email that everybody received today from an area resident there. This is the work that he was mentioning. Yeah.
I didn't see that because he sends it to my Gmail account.
Yeah.
So, Brian, this $20,000 will address those additional concerns that he has raised there and make sure that there won't be water impacts to his property. Is that what that's going to do?
That's what we're hoping, yes, that will address that area. Myself and the project engineer met with him last week, and that was one of the things we had talked about. And I met with the other property owner on the other side of the river a week or two before that, and I'd seen like both of them had the same concerns, and that's the reason I went back to the contractor and asked them, or to a consultant, he went back to the contractor and asked them to provide us with a price to do some of that work there.
Yeah.
And I also explained to him that the Skipper's Landing and all the drainage for that area, this is sort of a phased approach, which was discussed and agreed to by committee or council, sorry. So this is just a piece of the puzzle as we move down the brook.
I think the concern, I spoke to the resident, and I think the concern that was brought to me was that apparently we've created a faster flow with the river, and he's concerned that it's going to rise faster. So will cleaning this debris help that water flow faster is what we're, and the other question is, did the engineer, when you guys were there, think about downstream impacts? Because you're right, it was a phased approach that we talked about, and the engineering was to be broken up so that any changes that we made would not negatively impact another person's property. So is that something that you discussed with the engineer? Just
Yes, they look at all that downstream, and it's not increasing the flow, it's just improving the flow is what happens there. So there's not, some people got the misconception, I believe, that there's going to be extra water going down there, but that's not necessarily the case. It's just improving the flow in that through there, so there's no extra volume as such, right?
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Okay, the fire annex renovation, is that started this week, Brian? Because it was.
They're scheduled to be here one day this week.
Okay, flow meter, All of this, like, is pretty straightforward. I've got a motion here to request a change in the scope of work for project 17-GI-20-00035, water system upgrades to reallocate any surplus funds to pump house infrastructure upgrades. So moved.
Second.
Particular questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried?
Salt and stand storage, that's, I guess that's something that the design is coming. Is
That'll
it
be
here?
something.
That was last week, report coming, so that would have been last week. Is that here now?
Yes, I got the geotechnical work, which is complete. I got received that today, and they I sent an update this afternoon, actually, that we're going to have the RFP documents tomorrow for review for myself, so that way we get ready to put that out as well. So that's all. It's all going to happen fairly quickly.
Okay. So you still plan to think that we'll have that built for this year?
That's the plan, depending on weather, obviously.
Okay. The next one is the sidewalks. I guess we've been waiting, and it's very frustrating to know that they're still not here when we talked about it for to be on the 23rd. But I'm told that the contractor is mobilizing to site today with work to start shortly after. Contract provides them with 100 days to complete, and if they run into winter weather, which is important that I wanted to know, then it will be completed in the spring of 2022. Did anything happen this afternoon for them to move in?
Yes, if you look down the back, they got their boxes, trailers, some equipment there on site.
Okay, so we can all be really excited. Tomorrow's the first day of school, and they're all going to be on the road at the same time, so be ready. That's the main thing that residents, I guess, and that was some of the comments that I was being made to me. So if we had planned it, it wouldn't have worked out better than all hands to show up tomorrow. So unfortunately, that's all we can do with this. I mean, we've been pushing for this basically all summer, and this is when it's going to start. So we're in a no-win situation, I know, and I'm just asking everybody to be patient and bear with us to get, at least we're getting the sidewalks in.
Got to laugh with that one. Excuse me, I was thinking out loud that time.
Okay, I got a motion here to request a change in the scope of work for project 17-RNC-21-0001, new Torbay sidewalks to include sidewalk work in the sections from Balleen Line to Indian Mill Line and from North Pond Road to Condon Lane. So moved.
Second.
And I guess this came up at the meeting, and through our director finding out that we really needed to look at the funding that, I guess there was a meeting that was held with the government, the powers to be there a couple of weeks ago, and that we need actually have this change in scope of work for the project. So that's what this is all about. So this is really important to get this completed and in as soon as possible.
All right, so that was requested from the department, Brian?
After speaking with the consultant and explained to him that yourself and the CAO and MHA met with the province and officials, I guess, that he had questioned then if we had submitted a formal request. And I said, no, there's no formal written request. So I reached out to Infrastructure and Transportation, and they provided me with a form which needs to be provided. So that form is ready to go, just got to put that motion with it.
All right, thank you.
The same thing with the change order, to the previously approved change of scope for the water system.
Okay, all right, thanks. That makes sense.
Just in reference to the sidewalks, we expect, we don't know, once the sidewalks start, obviously we don't know when winter will start, but we certainly asked, or the director asked the contractor to try to concentrate on one section of the road so that we don't have 3 or 4 sections up in the sloughs for the winter. So we get one done at a time and then move on to the next logical progression of work. So hopefully that'll all work out. We'll keep our fingers crossed on that, and maybe we'll get it all done. So.
I actually spoke with the contractor on that this afternoon as well, and he's of the same mind that we'll finish up the north side area first, and then we'll come to Indian Mill line and work our way up the hill. So they're sort of not jumping around.
So can we put out something in social media to advise residents, because if they're going to be starting up tomorrow morning and school is opening, to because now residents, anybody's got anybody in school, they got no warning, so tomorrow morning I can just foresee all of that taking place with the first morning, with parents dropping off youngsters and doing all that, or are they going to start maybe after 9 o'clock? Looks like you got something to add.
Yes, so I also spoke with the contractor on that today, and they're going to be finishing their mobilization tomorrow morning and putting signage up and stuff like that. So he's going to least amount of disruption to traffic flow as possible for the most of the morning. Not to say there won't be any disruption, but that's the usual way it works. And same thing on Skipper's Landing they're doing for the pipe crossing. Some of you guys might have saw the notice of the winter today. So they're going to maintain a lane for the buses in the specific times so that there's no interruption for bus flows as well.
We will put out resident communications on both ends.
Yeah, so that day.
Okay. Any other questions? I had a question. So we're going to add that scope work in there now. All the drawings are already all done, right? I already seen them all. Like, right? Are they all done, right? Or actually, what I saw was future. It stops.
Yeah.
So are we going to get those drawings done and be ready to go if we get the additional funding? And my second question, and I guess this will be brought back again at another time, if we don't get that additional funding for our provincial government, can we not just throw some money at this and complete it?
So, to clarify, that scope of work, the original funding through was 1.1, our tender came in at 765,000, so we're using the $400,000 to do this additional scope of work. That's why those figures are identified.
Okay.
The other piece that we were talking about, going from Man's Lane right to doing everything, that's still in process.
Okay.
You know, it's still being worked on.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So we're working within the approved tender, the approved, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and to answer your question on drawings, the drawings that were actually went out to tender was right from Darrell Drive right to Convent Lane.
Right.
Just that there were sections that were crossed out, so the only bid on sections Darrell Drive to Bowling Line and then Email Line up. But all those drawings are, and they've already been reviewed by Transportation Works as well.
That's what I thought, because I
Yeah.
was going through them last week when I was signing
Yeah.
all, and I thought I saw.
Yeah, you would have noticed there's a bunch from edX's through 'em.
So we've got the direction from the department and the process that we need to follow for this, so that's why the form is sent to the director
All right.
and then came through committee. So, and the consultant has completed as well too, so once we confirm if the motion passes by council, then we can submit that tomorrow.
All right, thank
I
you.
just had a thought, scary, but if we had the engineering work done from PJ's down to Man's Lane, which we haven't got that part done, that would be if we did have access to funding, like if we were to move with that now and had that, the engineering part of it done, then we would be in a better position if funding did come, you know, when we're always talking about shovel ready. We would have that application done up and ready to submit if we had that done, because last time that's what ended up taking some time. Remember, we were, you know, scrambling when we found out we had that money.
Yeah.
So if we could get that done, because we used what we had then from Darrell Pie down to the end of Bowling Line for other reasons, was all, but if we had that done, what do we need? Or, you know, I'm just thinking that would be something, even if we had a new council come in, wouldn't probably be thinking, and I'd probably lose this thought if I wasn't saying it
It's
out
going in
loud
the
right
minutes.
now.
It's
Well,
going
we
in the
also
minutes.
have, we also have gas tax money there, Councillor Thorngass.
Yeah,
and
but
I-
even if we had the engineering, I'm just saying, if
Yeah.
we even had that engineering work done, like that'd save us some time if we did get
Well, you
money.
know, as I was listening to the conversation here, and one of the questions I have for the director, you know, I think that it's unfortunate and inconvenient, and it's beyond any of our control, that the sidewalks start on the first day of school. None of us wanted that. I think, though, the thing is that what I wanted to know was, is it possible if we start at Juniper Ridge, is there any way to start from the other school and find a way back? And I'm just curious. I wanted to ask the question. I'm sure someone in the public would want the question asked to know, because, you know, we're thinking about school zone areas and kids walking back and forth in safety. So that was the first question. But then to Councillor Thorne-Goss's point, I think it makes a lot of sense, because if we have the engineering done from, you know, PJ's down, there's a lot of kids in the high school that go to PJ's, they go down to Atlas Pizza and places like that looking to get food, and having that infrastructure in place would absolutely be a good idea. And I think that, you know, if we were to move forward to get the engineering done, we do have, what was it, $600,000 there in the kitty for the gas tax resources that could be applied towards. I'm not saying 100%. We certainly want to look at leveraging provincial federal money, but I think it makes it more of an attainable goal, and safety of children walking in you know, those areas is definitely important. So I think it's a really good idea that you're putting forward. But also wanted to ask the question, because I'm sure someone's going to call me and say, Deputy Mayor, how come you did Juniper Ridge area, but you didn't start down by Holy Trinity? So Brian, can you speak to that quickly? Because I think that's
I can speak to that. We got a motion in place that says we're doing this section and that section, so that's it.
Yeah.
And so the motion says from Darrell Paul Drive or Juniper Ridge, it says, to Balling Line, and it says from Indy Mill Line to Convent Lane. That's what the motion says, and that's what we're approved for.
Yeah.
So we can only spend it, and that's what the request and scope is, and that's what the meeting with the officials was all about, was that they're only allowing us to do A to B and C to D, but not and D to E, but not C to D in between, right?
Yeah.
So that's the crux of all the issue.
Yeah,
right?
and the question I guess that I was wondering was,
But the engineering thing, that's certainly something we can look at if that's what council wants to do. I mean, there's going to be a cost to it, obviously, but yeah, I think something we should probably discuss at the next committee level for sure.
Next council, and I guess further to Councillor Pollard's point, that not to have the entire town in the construction zone to where they start to work their way and complete
absolutely.
sections, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so let's just call a question on this motion here. Get that over with. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The rest of the stuff you talked about, Mary, you can bring that back to the committee.
Yeah.
So the takeaway is we'll ask director to get a price, an estimate, cost estimate of what the engineering cost is going to be to bring back to committee, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Traffic calming, just worth putting in there that graph there that got the information there that they took off the digital sign, and I think that it's really good. So as soon as I seen that, I asked the director if he could do that with all of our digital signs. Road project work, they're started up in Ready Drive, obviously, and the rest of it is pretty straightforward here. Brought it up about the water treatment plant, Great Pond water study. There's not, the trail development. That's something that I got an update here this evening, actually. I don't know if there's anything different from what, as per the minutes, waiting on updated trail route. When I receive it, it will be meeting with the property owners and should be no problems then, remaining budget. But I mean, the big thing is with that, so that we go in and extend our route, our trails for this year, because I was getting kind of concerned if we don't have this action and whatever money is in the budget, I know it can be spent, but if it's in there, for it to be spent on trails, because if there's 200 in there this year, the likelihood of having that kept and rolled over the next year, and then there'll be 400 in there, that the chances of that are very slim. So I just like to see something, because I know I got to make Councillor Glant happy. As he said, so. What are you going to say?
Is that it?
He was going to say something.
Caught him off guard.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can answer his question. I can answer his question before he answers it.
I can't
Ask
believe
it.
you got nothing to say when talking about trails. there's some numbers and what have you in here with regards to the director gave on the overview of the pond, the water supply and its levels. And I guess we're looking at keeping the water band in place until it returns to 9.5 to 10 foot mark. So what's the latest on, is it still below that?
Let's check my notes for my levels. So what we're averaging now is we're dropping about half an inch per day. And we've been doing that since early August. So it was open with this little rain today. We're going to need a lot of rain to bring it back up to our normal operating levels, let's say. With Hurricane Larry from the weekend, we're going to get that. So I'm interested to see how much rainfall we get with that. And because I got some historical value or information, but I don't have anything to say that if we have 100 mils rain, it brings the pond 2 inches, it trains to the 4 inches.
Right.
So that's something I'm interested in seeing, what rain did weekend, where that brings us. So I've had our water sewer guys, every morning they go down, look at gauge, and sends me a text, says it's at 50 or whatever. So we're monitoring very closely.
I was surprised or shocked the other day when I drove past the pond and down on the lower south side, stumps are sticking up.
Yes,
Where, where the pond had been, where the dam was raised and those trees had been cut down and the ground flooded, those are normally well underwater, right? And it just goes to show, I've never seen a pond like that before. So
Never noticed that.
it's certainly been a really dry summer and, pray for rain. Is there a sign about that or something?
Solid waste and recycling. I noticed that there's been a lot of comments and issues with regards to recycling on social media. And director was going to look and see what's different with this current garbage collector compared to what the old one was, because how come we're getting the issues now of not taking it? And did you find out anything on that?
Not directly, but I did get the numbers for August for waste collection and garbage collection tonnage. And our waste tonnage has gone down in August, and our recycling tonnage has gone up. So I think the new contractor, who's, for some reason, Robin Hood Bay is making them toe the line and make sure everything's separated properly. I'm not sure what was going on before, but it is driving their numbers up where they probably should be. So I haven't been able to figure exactly what happened, but the numbers are gone up just over 1 month.
Which is good,
Yeah.
is a good thing. And,
Yes.
And to your point also, that notification that went out to residents to properly separate your recycling, which nothing has changed. It's always been that way.
Well, that's what we were wondering. Nothing
Right.
has changed, and how come all of a sudden we were getting pushback? And that's,
I suspect it had to do, and it's just an assumption on my side, that maybe these new contractors might be more diligent on that, right?
I believe
They might have more
that might be the
capacity
case.
to be able to deal with it that way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
and the last things here is the fall bulk garbage. It's going to be scheduled for September 23rd to the 25th with a similar layout and procedure as the past springs cleanup. So this is, I guess that's important to get out. So now we just need to communicate what the times are and get that out to residents as soon as possible. The other thing that I've got here is leak detection is now completed 100%. And there's, I guess that there's one leak that's been detected, which had been since repaired, and he's waiting on the report to see that there's one other possible leak, which they are now following up on. And that's it.
I detected a leak last night in my pool, and I had to get in the water and put a patch on it. It was brutal. It was cold, but it's not too bad. Not too bad. But one thing that I would comment on, Councillor Torngas, and this is with the traffic calming numbers from Evenings Pat. Is it Evenings Pat?
Yeah.
Like, when you look at that with the volume of traffic, and I look at the average speed, it's right in the ballpark where it should be. So, to me, the calming measures that we put in are probably working. And, for the most part, I think most residents drive reasonably. And you do get the outliers that were more than 10 over the speed limit, like they will drive the average up. But, you know,
But that's good information.
It's encouraging, it's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I could see this, and I know the director probably wouldn't, but this is something like we need to be sharing on social media so that residents can see these and put it out there, so then they can comment and say, look, this is what we've got. Like, that's really good information.
Yeah.
And as long as we get it from the other signs as well.
Excellent.
So that was the question I had. Do we have signs, the numbers from Bali and Line? I know that they've been requested. Do we have that information?
I've got the raw data from that. That sign is a little different than from this sign. The information comes in differently, so you gotta do some more manipulation with it, I would say. Like, it doesn't, like, could this come off one of our speed signs, like the permanent ones? So, like I say, the information comes off different, so there's a little bit more manipulation going to go with it. But I do have the information off that one, which I'll be sharing next time. I thought I was going to have it for this meeting, but I didn't have it all together. So we'll share it next one. I'm going to try to get 2 or 3 each meeting, because it takes a bit of time down long. One thing Councillor Thorngass did miss there was the under waste collection. The contractor is going to be moving to a 3-day waste collection beginning October 1st, so there's going to be information going on that over the next few days.
What days?
Still going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Basically, Fridays will be split between Wednesdays and Tuesdays, or Thursdays and Tuesdays, something like that.
All right.
But that will be coming out shortly.
Okay, because I like the fact that we never have garbage pickup on Mondays. So when there's a holiday, we don't have to shift the schedule.
Yes, so now we won't have garbage collection on Friday either, so if we have snowstorm events or snow events, that way they got an extra day to play with as well, right?
Okay.
So,
So that's going to be a major change for residents. For them
for
to-
Friday's residents.
Yeah, so that's a big thing we need to emphasize, yes, and it's.
Yeah, that'll be going out
From
up.
3 to 1 day, so the sooner we get that up.
Yeah, I just verified the mapping with the contractor today, and then I'm going to send it over to communications tomorrow.
Okay. The other thing too that I guess is that I've seen people mention, and we talked about this before, now that we get this new contractor with more capacity that they have, that we can probably, the committee can look at the potential of doing curbside bulk carriage pickup, the price, just to look at it and see. Don't look at me sideways, I'm just curious.
You're to the side of me, I gotta look at you sideways. Yes, I'm sure that's something that new committee of infrastructure public works will look at in the new year, yeah.
I've got another question. It's around the North Pond water information. This is Paula's letter here. It says here that we have had, it's the lowest our most senior sewer tech has seen since he started in 2007. And the levels were even lower 2002, 2003, 2004, but that was before the dam was raised in 2007. One of the questions was, have we had these bans in the past? That was one of the questions Paul asked in the last meeting. Did we have water bans in 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2007?
Not sure, because I came here in 2005.
I
would suggest that we did. These numbers actually come from, I don't know if you guys remember when Wood was doing the study, and former Mayor Codner had kept records, and I went up with him pretty much every week, and he took levels.
Yeah.
So that's where those records came from.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going by. But I would assume that back then they would have had a ban of some sort.
Yeah,
Right?
because I was just
But I also
curious.
remember the population back then was a lot lower than it was now too, right?
Yeah, and I'm just wondering, that because, and I do apologize, when I looked at it, I didn't correlate between this update and Paula's email, but I do remember her asking the question specifically last time, did we have bans in the past? And I was just curious to see if we did have them at those times. So that's-
I can't speak
Yeah.
directly to it, I'm not sure.
Thanks.
I would assume that we did.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay,
We also said to preserve, well, not to waste water in these summers. And we have to,
all right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Recreation and Community Services, Councilor Gland.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. An update from the Recreation Community Services Committee. Basically, programming update. fall programming. Booklet is getting put together for October, December. Killer Coast Games, of course, finished on August 26th. Summer day camp programs ended on August 27th. But going forward now, Max Athletics is going to be implementing their after-school program starting tomorrow, I guess. Tomorrow, this is 8th? Yep, starting tomorrow. And that's going to be really awesome. It's going to be they're going to be running that until June. On facilities update, basically the Torbay Common Fall schedule, staff's in progress of completing rental contracts, but we're to marry your fears of the that rec center being empty. I think that it's very busy. We've got that. We've got 14 different user groups booked in for use in the gym and multi-purpose rooms. So I'm really glad that we're filling that place up, and it's getting used by the community, or will be getting used by the community. Of course, it's been a difficult year, but all signs are looking positive. Speaking of positive, the splash pad, of course, was fixed and operational, and will be getting shut down, I guess, today, 7th, right? We have the September community program guides there for everyone. I actually played pickleball for the first time the other day. It's actually pretty, someone else's play. It's a different spot. It's actually really fun. I don't know if anyone has not played that. That's a laugh. And yeah, that's about it. Is there any questions, concerns? I'd be more than happy to speak them.
If I could, just one. The facilities update, I'm very happy to see that the facility is being used and it's full, and that residents are going to have the benefit of using it. There was a lot of question and concern yesterday about the gate, though, and I know, and thank you, staff, for getting back to us on that and letting us know what happened. And, you know, residents were asking, why is the gate closed? And we found out that it was because the commissioners hadn't opened it. And when we did call the commissioners,
Are you talking about the Facebook chatter on their?
they were quick to respond and do that for us. I would like to ask committee, though, to take back a discussion about the gate. There was a motion last year sometime about putting that gate in, having it locked, and there were concerns that I think need to be brought forward. And I think the concern around access to spray lane, people say they're walking, they're taking their children because that gate is locked and not being able to get through. The issue about making sure that it's opening and, you know, what's happening with that. I'd just like to ask committee to take it back, have another conversation about that gate, the function of it, and how it's working. At the time when we did talk about it, we talked about, you know, snow clearing and being able to open it and close it in storms and all that stuff. But I would ask that committee revisit the conversation around the gate.
I believe CAO elaborated on it a little bit this afternoon.
She did, absolutely, and that's why I referenced it and said thank you for doing the you know, the legwork and finding out what happened, so we would know, and just shared what happened. But I think I'd like to ask committee to go back and have a look at that gate and access not just at the main gate, but also the spray lane one, because of some of the concerns that were raised there.
What do you mean
That's all.
spray lane?
The access to spray lane, residents are saying that is locked and they can't get through.
Isn't there a walk-through over there?
Shays Lane, sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks, long
all
meeting,
right.
sorry. Shays Lane, thank
Yeah.
you, Mary, my bad. Yes, the Shays Lane, and, yeah, just so that, you know, from a safety perspective, we could ask committee to review the gate, how it's functioning, access to the facility, and that, especially now with kids after school who are going to be using the Max Athletic program and stuff. I think it's worth having a look at it again and asking you guys to take it away, look at it, bring it back, that's all. Thank you.
Sounds very, I guess, just to clarify, because it sounds very generic, what do you, other than just saying, hey, go talk about it, what do you want to happen? I don't do Facebook, right? So do you want the gate open? You want the gate closed?
Yeah, no, what I'm asking is that committee review the policies around what's happening with the gate, because residents have been saying that they're not able to access during spray lane, and I believe spray lane, listen to me again, Shays Lane. I know, I'm sorry. Shays Lane, there was something about emergency access. I don't remember the dialogue around it. What I'm asking is that you guys go back and review the conversation around it, make sure that we've heard what residents have to say about access. If there's safety issues and people are saying children to get access can't come through that gate, what they have to do is take the road and take the bike and
That's
go
always
around.
that's always open there.
Well-
No, but all I'm saying is that anytime that main gate and what have you, because was my argument before with this, because there's a lot of people that walk that loop. So I know that during COVID, they were able to access going in Shays Lane, and then you'd get in and walk through, and they'd walk up to the main gate, and here the main gate was closed.
Yeah.
And they had to walk back again. But my time over there, that Shays Lane, that's just being open, and at 10 or 10:30, the gate is locked for the simple reason that it was a place that everybody hung out, and they asked for it to be closed, right? So that's what I remember, but
Yeah.
that Shays Lane was never closed off until COVID, and people were getting a few times, remember, I think I even had pictures, they were getting over the fence, over where the gate is locked, so.
It's my understanding it was a one-off issue yesterday because it was a operational issue and security. So as far as I know, it's been streamlined up until yesterday.
I pass by that building every morning and the gate's always open.
It was just
Yeah.
an accident that ended up happening
Right.
yesterday.
I think it was
an
just
error.
a one-off. That
Yeah.
was my
One
understanding.
morning of the gate being open is not, the gate is never open. You know what I
No.
mean? Like, come on.
All I'm just asking is that access to the facility be reviewed by committee. That's all.
Okay.
No problem.
I don't think there's need to review it. I don't believe talking for the sake of talking. Like, it was just a matter of the gate getting forgot to be opened, then make sure that's not.
Yeah.
That's not. But I understand what you mean. It's just, I just remember we talked about this for 3 hours, like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Where are we at? Liaison Committees, Atlantic Mayor's Congress meeting, October. Don, remind me to find out the date so we can get myself booked. Intergovernmental Affairs, I think we kind of discussed all that stuff already. Jack Byrne,
Meeting on Thursday evening.
okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Northeast Seven Joint Council,
Next meeting is going to be October.
perfect. Roland Flank Constabulary, continue to follow up. I got to, Don, have we heard back from them yet about a community meeting?
I'll circle back around.
Okay, all right, thank you. Torbay Volunteer Fire Department, Councilor Martin.
Thank you. I attended the virtual meeting on August 30th. There were a total of 5 calls to date, 2 medical, 1 workplace accident, 1 request to assist, and 1 alarm. And next meeting's next Monday night now.
All right, perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Urban Municipalities Committee, we met
Minutes are enclosed.
last weekend, Don? We met last weekend in Mount Pearl. I want to thank Mayor Aker and Mount Pearl Council and staff for providing that space for us to meet. And thank you to the minister who came. So that was nice to be able to have a chat with her. And we found out some interesting information as it relates to ATVs and what avenues are available to municipalities to be able to deal with that. And it was surprising what we heard, that the town of Paradise Municipal Enforcement are actually giving out tickets to people on ATVs and impounding them. And they work with groups, I guess the Newfoundland ATV Association or wherever, Tony, you were there. There's that kind of the gist of the conversation. And I think that it's incumbent on us to follow up on that and find out what's involved with that. What are the benefits? What are the pitfalls? There might be additional tools available, I guess, to our town to be able to try and deal with some of these issues. We'd certainly have to look into it and find out if we have the capacity to do that, or, you know, what are the, I guess, the hurdles that we'd have to jump through to be able to do that. But it's interesting that other municipalities are finding ways to deal with those and actually looking at areas of your town where ATV traffic is actually allowed, and they kind of work together. So it was an interesting discussion. It's not the only thing we talked about, but I can tell you this right now, from mayors all across the province, they said that it's one of their main election issues in each of their towns is ATV traffic and dirt bike traffic and speeding in their municipalities. So When people look at us and say, oh, there's ATVs going everywhere and the cars are speeding, it's not just us, it's everywhere. So, and that's the benefit of being involved in these groups, that you get to go there and listen to what they're saying and what they're doing and see if we can apply it here, so. I know the CAO was there digitally taking notes as we were talking about that, so I got a meeting follow-up this week, I think, with UMC check-in, so I'll see where we're to with the minutes from that and when I'm going to be able to share them with the council. So that was interesting. Any questions? No? Okay, good. Notice motion, none, new business. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. I wanted to do a thank you. Madeline, when you mentioned the barefoot hiker who was a significant contributor to the fundraiser for the East Coast Trail, he's actually walking in memory of my cousin. We have a shared relative there. So I just wanted to do a shout out to him. It's remarkable how, different life events impact different people, and I did read about what he was doing, and I thought it was fabulous. So just a thank you to him for what he's doing and the contribution that he's making, especially in the discussion around mental health and wellness. I think it's an important issue. A thank you to the residents who have been working and putting together petitions and letters and emails and coordinating and talking to us so that we have the ability to communicate and respond with them. We are listening. It's important that people know that we're listening and that they can communicate, and I think that's really important for them to do. I also want to thank the mayor for participating in the advocacy meeting with us when I chaired that meeting. It's great to hold the position at M&L as the vice president and have the opportunity to work with you in that role. So thank you for that. And I also want to thank the residents. The feedback and the welcome and the warmness as the campaign has started has been fabulous. And it's really important to get out now and have these conversations. And you were just speaking about speeding, and I was on Indy Meal Line last night chatting with a resident who said that the speeding on this road is just crazy. The dirt bikes are crazy, the ATVs are crazy. I invite the RNC to come park in my driveway to deal with this issue because it's that bad. And so, it's a great opportunity to talk to people about what is important to them and why. So just a thank you to them, and a good luck to everybody who's taken the time to put their name forward. It's a busy job. It's not an easy job, but it's an important job. And my last thank you is to the councillors who have served, who aren't seeking re-election. It's been my pleasure, believe it or not, to work with you the last 4 years. I've had many debates and back and forths in this chamber, but it has been my pleasure to work with every one of you, and I want to thank you for that. And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Martin.
Thank you. I just wanted to congratulate the 3 incumbents and 5 new candidates running for the election. I'm one of 3 that aren't running, but I want to congratulate you all. I know it's a stressful time, eat, sleep and manage your time well. And best wishes to you all. And I'll have my farewell comments prepared for next meeting. Well, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Councillor Roach.
Congratulations on nobody going against you.
Oh yes, I forgot to congratulate your acclamation.
Congratulations.
And to everybody who's run, get out there, kind of city, everything like that. And you're representing your residents, and as long as you do something to help somebody out, it makes you feel something all about that, that's what it's all about. And I won't be running. I'm going to spend. I'm retiring, I should say, next week. I'll regionally on leave after that. But if anybody wants to give me a call anytime, and they need, find out something or whatever, I got it up here. You wouldn't think that's what I do. What happened over the past, I was there, and I really appreciate working with all of you and their duties. And one day we run. Anyway, best of luck to Lonnie, and like I said, I'm only phone call. I won't be coming down and bothering you. Yeah, but it would be nice to see the lieutenants.
Thank you, and I'm sure that we'll have you back in here next year after convention to get your, is there a presentation for 24 years, Don? 25?
Next year.
Yeah. 20, there's a 24-year one, isn't it? Yeah. But you won't be here next year. You'll only be here to receive your gifts. I mean, you'll be here, yes. Thank you. Councillor Thorngas.
I know what Peggy meant, that you don't get
I
the
know.
award until,
Yeah.
next year at the convention. But anyway, I just wanted to say thank you, I guess, for everyone that was involved with the Killy Coast Games, and having been over there for the closing ceremonies and watching the playoffs for the ball game. It was really, really good caliber ball and what have you, so. And also want to thank everyone. I had the opportunity to go down and look at the community gardens, and I think that be remiss in saying that there's so many volunteer groups, and it wasn't until the past week that I'm looking at so many different groups that are out doing things. But that down there this year is really, it's really, after coming along, really good. So they've had really, a really healthy year for their vegetables. And as well, I had here to thank everyone for putting their names forward in the election. And good luck to everybody, and as well to you, Mr. Mayor, putting your name to come back to work again, and congratulations on everything. So that's it for me.
All right, Councillor Clay.
All
right.
So I'm going to be sick, and Karen will so keep me abreast.
Will do.
Have a go, Peggy.
If I volunteer, we're going. I gotta go now.
Sleep, baby.
I love it. Yeah, I just wanted to say, again, sorry, I'm a little fatigued here at the end of a 3-hour meeting here. It was a big, it was a good meeting. Lots of debate and all that kind of stuff. And I'm probably going to miss that at some point in time, because for those who don't know, I'm not going to be seeking re-election after 12 years. Right, so doing 12 years is good enough. You know, two deputy mayors and a councillor. Right, so 12 is just right. 16 is probably too much, just for me personally. I've been on council since I was, I think, 32 years old. So I might want to try to be most of my adult life I've been on Torbay Town Council, because I became an adult around 31. So 90%. Yeah, and yeah. So again, I'll be saying I'll make more of an official kind of thank you very much to, I guess, we got one council meeting left, and that's it. But I really just want to say, I'm going to take a quick moment, as kind of people know I'm not running now, just thank the people of Torbay for the last 12 years. It's been fantastic. It's been a million different things. And I just want to say thanks to, I guess, fellow councillors, and especially the staff and everyone. And yeah, I just wanted to say that, and I'll be a little more elaborate and a little better next week. I'm too tired to tell you what I really think and feel right now. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to a new chapter, and just thank you so much.
All right, thank you. That leaves me. All right, so I just got a quick congrats. I want to congratulate everybody that has put their name forward to run for council. It's not an easy decision. I know I've done it, and we've all done it, and you know, there's a lot of demand. It's a lot of work to campaign and try and compete for one of these seats sitting around here, and you know, it's nice to see that we have some new people stepping forward that have never run before. So it's going to be a good experience for them. It's always a good experience, and Jeff would notice more than me when new people come into the council that bring a different perspective, fresh views and everything. So looking forward to that. And I want to say thank you to George Cuff. And who's George Cuff, you would say? And not very often do I talk about myself. Everybody thinks I do all the time, but I don't. So last year during Snowmageddon, this guy reached out to me. He's actually an author, and he writes books about municipal government. And he's after writing umpteen books. I don't know how many he is. But anyway, he contacted me last year and asked me if I'd like to contribute to his latest book. And I did. And I wrote up something, and I sent it off, and then he just emailed me tonight to thank me for participating in his latest book, and he trusted I would enjoy it. Now, it just so happened I knew that it came out last week, and I ordered it, so I'm going to get it. And it's kind of interesting and fun altogether, you know. Not very often do you get to do stuff like that, so it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of nerdy, exciting, I guess, for me, but I'm looking forward to having a read. It might be, you know what, it might be 2 lines, it might be 20, I don't know, but anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing it anyway. And that's all I got to say about that. So, question and answer. Paula. And you're still awake?
I'll go back and hear what you said. Okay, I'll watch from home. I have a question about municipalities and now. Gander made the news about their water. A friend of mine's on the pond in Paradise. The little girl told me it was 3 Island Pond. I don't know if that's so. It was from the mouth of a 6-year-old. And that's down 2 feet. And I'm just wondering, Torbay is having a water issue, but sort of coming back and looking at it broader. Does municipalities and Allen have a role to play in helping municipalities understand this, do the research, provide information? And if no, as I'm seeing you shake your head.
No, I was going to say no.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Is it because it's not their mandate, or does it mean that municipalities can say, look, something new is happening here, or interesting, or trending? Can you look to municipalities and help for information?
Municipalities Newfoundland Labrador they're an advocacy group for municipalities, basically, right? So, to your point, I was talking to the mayor of Deer Lake. Their pond is down 7 feet. So it's not unique to us. It's all across the province. This summer has been really dry, and the taxing capacity on the water supplies is probably getting higher and higher all the time. We're having less and less participation, so that's part of it. We do have advocacy groups within M&L that we provide services for municipalities. Certain things that we branch out into, like one thing that we're doing now is around procurement. But a lot of the advocacy that they do, I wouldn't say all of it, but almost all of it, comes from resolutions that come from member municipalities.
So, at your conference that's coming up in September?
Yep.
September?
November.
November, will water be on the agenda?
It depends, right? It depends because with this summer, some municipalities might bring forward the issue. The issues around water in this province go so deep compared to lack of water is a minor problem compared to some of them. There's 200 and some odd boil orders on that people are worried about the quality of their water. Capacity for us is a big issue. Quality also is an issue, which is why we're trying to do that. So I don't know that a lot of towns are putting in resolutions to do with additional advocacy around capacity of water, because, I mean, everybody has their water supply, it is what it is, right? There's no more pond for us. We have one pond and that's it. So our advocacy that we should be doing, or that we are doing, is trying to get hooked into the regional water supply, and they're looking at expanding that. So the ultimate long-term goal for us, that would solve our water issues, but in the meantime, we have to try and work with what we got. And to your point, that's a good one, and I'll ask about that I have a meeting on Friday, I think, with the M&L CEO for my check-in as my committee member, and I will ask him about that, if water would be on the agenda, or how would we go about getting it on there.
Right on. So, and it's too late to connect dots, it should be connected, but Tony, I think you made a statement about always having climate change.
Yes.
It'd be the third time you'd have to say it.
Good luck.
Yes.
Water always has to be part of the conversation moving forward.
Yeah.
And always part integrated, and it can't not be a conversation at any point. So that's why I keep bringing it up, because I think.
I agree with you, and I think, and I'll speak for this council and probably the last one. I know that we've done a lot of work around groundwater flow modeling and finding out where our capacity is in the town when it comes to wells. Of course, we've done a lot more work on North Pond since we started with the meter project and trying to find out where we're using water, where we're wasting water, leak detection, all these things that, and of course promotion of conservation, but all these things added together are probably why we might be down, 5 feet, whatever it is, instead of 7 feet. You know, I guess it's all relative, and it's something that we always need to be paying attention to, for sure. Thank you for your questions. Madeline, did you have anything?
Oh, well, I'm going to keep it for another time, but I do want to thank council for their feedback to the town of LMO about the East Coast Trail.
Okay.
And I think it's particularly important to get feedback like this to the province. There are communities along the trail that are not as supportive. So for the province to get that kind of feedback is really important. In this case, LMO is very supportive of the trail. We do have an MOU with LMO, and the East Coast Trail is aware of that amendment.
Okay.
And there has been consultation. So, but your feedback is going to be really appreciated.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. All right, that's it. Our next public council meeting is scheduled for September 20th at 6:30, right here in Torbay, our council chambers. If somebody wants to attend, make sure you got to put out your invite or your application or whatever it is. Express your interest to come sit here in the meeting. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.